IDT.com.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios.
Portions of the following show may be pre-recorded.
This is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560. The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. And part of trying to, motivate people to be sensible when it comes to addressing violent crime in a place like Chicago is just to tell stories. We've talked about this before. What we can do is tell some of the stories of the victims and get reaction from victims' families, and maybe that starts to register such that people snap out of it and appreciate the lack of leadership they have in the city and the state when it comes to public safety, and decide that they're not going to be party to that party before they too are victimized in some material way. You know, does it take having a tragedy befall you or a loved one before you start to question why things are the way they are? And so we have a terrible story to tell about a good guy, apparently. The Chicago bartender on his way home from work, and Good Samaritan, he sees apparently a number of individuals trying to break into a car in the near West Loop, and he stops, and he's shot and killed because he attempted to intervene. 42-year-old Chicago bartender named Salvador Herrera. Here's his sister, Marcelina, on Salvador.
He was someone who people cared about immensely, and he has left us completely broken. And that's how he died.
The 42-year-old was on his way home from work early this morning when neighbors tell us he stopped near Loomis and Flournoy on the near west side after he saw a group breaking into a Hyundai. He was still in his car when he tried to intervene. Investigators say he was shot in his back and later found by police on patrol. His family tells me he wasn't discovered until an hour after shots were fired. He later died at Stroger Hospital.
312-642-5600, Turnkey.pro answer line, 64636DA, Turnkey.pro text line. Some stories stick with you more than others. Certainly the story of a Good Samaritan should. Somebody who apparently, from the accounts, did everything right. Another person who played by the rules that's felled by a system that doesn't reward people who play by the rules.
Can't hear it.
Tried to intervene to help somebody else he doesn't know who wasn't in the car. I don't know. It's impossible to know if he thought somebody was being carjacked or somebody's car was just being broken into. But either way, somebody who attempted to do something selfless for another, which is a story we don't get to tell all the time. Alan Markovic is the owner of the car that was. Alan Markovic is the owner of the car that was broken into. He had this to say about what occurred.
He tells me this is the second time since July his car was broken into in this exact spot. He was inside of his apartment when he heard the shots, but was too frightened to come outside. He's calling on city leaders to address the ongoing crime.
Apparently, if you try to do something good, unfortunately you end up like that. So I think this man owes apology from the whole city, not just me.
His sister feels the same way. Back to Marcelina.
Because I refuse that my brother will be one more statistic. He is not going to be one. We will make sure of that.
312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line, 64636DA, turnkey.pro text line. Maybe that's what we need to do. Maybe we need to take up a story like Salvador Herrera, who at the age of 14 began working at Butterfield Country Club out there in Tony Oakbrook to help contribute to the family. That's after their father died. So he starts working at 14, He apparently working his ass off all the way to 42 when he's killed on the streets of Chicago trying to do the right thing. Maybe this is a story that we can amplify. Maybe this is somebody that we can, somebody's story, somebody's life that we can use to embody the fundamental pathologies that afflict Chicago. And I'm not just talking about the predators, but I'm also talking about those who are willfully blind to the predation and support and elect politicians who are equally willfully blind to the predation. Maybe. I don't know. You're looking for innovative ways to try to get people's attention, maybe capture their imagination, maybe reach not just their hearts but their heads for a change in the city. Because the flip side of it is the stories like this that are ubiquitous and daily. Chicago man fired shots at 2 people while on bail for a felony gun case. Thank you, Safety Act. Not that it matters in Cook County, I understand, but regardless, this is the culture in the state of Illinois. Charged with shooting 2 people, including one he had an ongoing dispute with while he's on bail for a felony gun case. Sure, there's a guy you don't want to hold over for trial. The 21st person this year accused of shooting, killing, or trying to shoot or kill someone in Chicago while awaiting trial for a felony. The cases involve at least 35 victims, 10 of whom died. Eyewitness account in the Salvador Herrera killing said about 4 people fled from the vehicle that he stopped next to that was being broken into. I wonder if we'll ever know, if these individuals are ever apprehended. I wonder what the background of these 4 individuals is. Remember, you heard the car owner say, this is the second time my car has been broken into in the same exact spot or on the same block. I wonder what we'll learn about those 4. And maybe we'll learn, maybe we'll learn that Salvador Herrera didn't have to be a victim because some, if not all of those individuals shouldn't be on the streets, just like 35 victims, 10 of whom died this year because of people who were accused of shooting, killing, or trying to shoot or kill someone while awaiting felony trial were on the streets. Dan and Amy, Chicago's Morning Answer.
Show in Chicago talking about today's biggest stories and telling you what they really mean. That show is this one, Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560, The Answer.
Balance of Nature's fruits and vegetables in a capsule, changing the world one life at a time.
Hi, my name is Peg. I'm a wife, mother, and grandmother. Family is so important to me, and I want to stay healthy so that I can continue to do the things that I enjoy doing with all of them. I would recommend Balance of Nature. It's so easy to do every day. I feel great, and who doesn't want to feel great?
Start your journey to better health with Balance of Nature. Call 1-800-246-8751 or go to balanceofnature.com to get 35% off your first preferred order with free shipping and our money-back guarantee. That's 1-800-246-8751. Go to balanceofnature.com or call 1-800-246-8751 and get this special offer by using discount code CHICAGO.
At Consumer Cellular, you get the same exact coverage as the largest carriers, but for up to half the cost. Same thing, up to half the cost. Up to half the cost for the same thing. 50% the money for 100% the same thing. I hope I'm making myself clear. Consumer Cellular. When freedom calls, we're here to answer. Call us at 1-888-FREEDOM.
Half the cost savings based on cost of Consumer Cellular single-line 5GB data plan with unlimited talk and text compared to lowest cost single-line postpaid unlimited talk, text, and data plan offered by T-Mobile and Verizon May 2023.
Finding great candidates to hire can be like, well, trying to find a needle in a haystack, but not with ZipRecruiter. Its powerful technology actively finds and invites qualified candidates to apply to your job. So while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds you the needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. Try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free.
AM 560, The Answer.
Dan and Amy talking about Salvador Herrera. You know, maybe since he worked at Butterfield when he was 14, Butterfield Country Club, I wonder if perhaps there's a Butterfield Country Club member out there listening who maybe knows this kid. I mean, that was 28 years ago, but
still, you guys have lasting effects on people.
Yeah, you remember the kids you grew up with, that you grew up with in that environment, that grew up working for the club, caddying and whatnot, and so maybe Butterfield Country Club members could take up his cause and this family's cause and add some profile to this case so it doesn't become just another statistic, as his sister said. Matt in Mount Greenwood, you're on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Yeah, good morning, Dan and Amy. I'm with you, Dan. I think you speaking about these stories will have a greater effect on people regardless of which way they lean. Statistics bore typically, but, when you touch the hearts of people, it does make a difference. I truly believe that. We can pontificate about the tragedy of this and, the ongoing saga, but when are people going to learn? And maybe when you share these stories, people will start opening their eyes and their ears to what's really going on here, because it touches everybody. Have a good day.
Thanks for the call, Matt. Yeah, and it's another thing too. You want to elevate people that do selfless things, that live the life the right way, because we have to spend so much time talking about people who don't live life the right way. And so, to his sister's point, Salvador Herrera should be remembered. He shouldn't be a statistic. People should take this story and say to their kids, you know what, you should live your life like that young man did, working at the age of 14, supporting his family, looking out for one another, even though he had no duty to do so on his way home from work in early morning hours like he did. And it cost him his life, unfortunately. That's a sad commentary on our society, but it's a positively uplifting commentary on that young man who was killed.
Coming up on Chicago's Morning Answer,
Ken Griffin joins the chorus. He's not hiring any of those Hamas supporters from Harvard, 538.
And why President Biden should never have gone in the first place. But now let's head into the newsroom. Here's Mike Scott.
48 degrees at 5:31. President Biden says it appears a deadly explosion at a hospital in Gaza was not the work of Israeli forces.
I'm deeply saddened and outraged by the explosion at the hospital in Gaza yesterday. And based on what I've seen, it appears as though it was done by the other team, not you.
Biden making the comment shortly after arriving in Israel today, speaking with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. Palestinian officials have tried to blame Israeli airstrikes for the blast. Meantime, the president is no longer scheduled to travel to Jordan Wednesday because of the blast. The U.S. providing Ukraine with long-range missiles. U.S. officials confirming this morning that the Biden administration has been quietly providing the missiles to Ukraine. It comes after Ukrainian forces attacked 2 air bases in Russian-held territory on Tuesday. The next vote for Speaker of the House will be this morning, after Ohio Congressman Jim Jordan failed to get a majority. Jordan, the top Republican nominee, confirmed the news after leaving meetings Tuesday afternoon. Congressman Kevin McCarthy of California said he went through the same process before he was elected Speaker.
So now we had a vote on the floor. It didn't get to the whole point. Now we'll take a break, talk to people, and come back and solve it.
Republican Florida Congressman Carlos Jimenez voted against Jordan, saying he's not changed his mind on who should be Speaker since Speaker McCarthy was removed 2 weeks ago.
I'm going to do what I think is right, and I'll live with the consequences of that. So far, it's worked out for me. Maybe this one doesn't work out for me, but I still think that's the right thing to do, and I'm sticking to my principles. I know who I'm voting for, and it's Kevin McCarthy.
Jordan says he has no plans of dropping out. Colorado officials are investigating after almost 200 decomposing bodies were found inside of a funeral home in the town of Penrose, south of Colorado Springs. The investigation began earlier this month after neighbors reported odors coming from the funeral home. A DeKalb County home is destroyed following a massive explosion that sparked a fire. Home exploded yesterday in the 5800 block of Goebel Road. A family displaced by a fire that destroyed their home Tuesday evening. Lake Zurich Fire Department confirms fire broke out in the 10 block of Robin Crest Road near the town of Hawthorne Woods just after 4 p.m. Some members of the Plainfield community gathered Tuesday evening to remember and honor the life of a 6-year-old Palestinian-American boy killed over the weekend in what prosecutors say was a hate crime.
One of our own here in Plainfield, and he's no longer with us due to this tragic murder. My heart goes out to his father, who is present with us, as an uncle, and the whole family, because no parent should ever have to experience this pain.
Plainfield's mayor talking to several family members in attendance as well. 71-year-old Joseph Chuba attacked the boy, and Hanan Shaheen, who was 32, with a large blade following an argument about the ongoing conflict in the Middle East. Shaheen is recovering from over a dozen stab wounds. And plans are moving forward to demolish part of the Thompson Center in Chicago. City has granted permits to begin tearing down the exterior and atrium of the iconic building. Google purchased the Thompson Center last year. Chicago sports. Bulls fall in the final minutes of a 106-102 preseason loss to Toronto at the UC. Phillies, 10-0 winners over Arizona in Game 2 of the NLCS. Blackhawks prepping to go out west to take on Colorado tomorrow night. The news service of Turnkey.pro. With decades of C-suite experience, Turnkey knows business. Turnkey has solutions for your business, all without having to hire on-site professionals. Visit Turnkey.pro, Turnkey.pro. A check of traffic and weather is on the way next on AM 560.
Mike Gallagher is surprised by the speaker.
I think he will be the nominee. And the thing is, President Trump is stronger today than he was in 2016 or 2020.
Wow. I don't think that was I didn't have that on my radar. Does that surprise you that Kevin McCarthy is all in for Donald Trump? Is that a mistake?
The Mike Gallagher Show, weekdays at 9, right before Dennis Prager at 11 on AM 560. The Answer.
Ask any old football player or fan, and they'll tell you offense wins games, but defense wins championships. Sean Thompson here, and you know who else knows that. It's Tom Fortino of Alpha Wealth Group. He knows winning doesn't just happen. It's a result of having a good coach who draws up the right strategy and then makes adjustments along the way. So think of Tom as your retirement defensive coordinator, protecting your retirement savings against inflation, market loss, or a pick six from Uncle Sam. With Tom's complimentary retirement roadmap, you'll find out what's working in your game plan or what's not. If you're serious about winning in retirement, call 630-934-1855. Ask for the retirement roadmap. That's 630-934-1855. Or find Tom online at alphawealthgroup.com and listen to the Alpha Wealth Hour right here on AM 560 The Answer, Saturday mornings at 9 a.m.
Advisory services through Retirement Wealth Advisors, LLC, RWA, an SEC-registered investment advisor. RWA and Alpha Wealth Group are independent of each other. Insurance and annuities offered through Alpha Wealth Group, licensed in Illinois.
Is life sciences your lifetime passion? If so, you could have the career of a lifetime. Automated Systems is searching for you. If you have experience in any of the following areas: industrial automation, PLC, HMI programming, equipment, facility, process or packaging engineering, commissioning, validation, project management, tech transfer, quality assurance, FDA compliance and auditing, you'll love any of these positions. Understanding the pharmaceutical and medical device industry trends and regulatory requirements is essential. Automated Systems is hungry for people with analytical and problem-solving skills. Automated Systems also promotes work-life balance with flexible work arrangements and competitive benefits so your career can soar while you're enjoying a fulfilling personal life. Don't miss this chance to make a difference and do what you do best. Go to HireASI.com now That's HireASI.com to explore an incredible career with Automated Systems Incorporated.
Gillette Intimate gives guys a gentle and easy shave. Don't treat yourself like junk. Respect it with Gillette Intimate, the best a man can get. Buy now at a retailer near you.
5:38 Team Hochberg Traffic Center time. Inbound Kennedy. We're looking at 25 minutes already. O'Hare into the Burns Circle interchange. Stevenson at 31, 355 into DuSable Lakeshore Drive. I-57 already jamming into the Bishop Ford and slow outbound at 127th with ongoing road work that will be in place until 6 a.m. Hanover Park, bad accident reported Ontarioville Road in County Farm. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next. AM 560 Weather Center forecast. A pleasant day ahead, partial sunshine, breezy by the afternoon, and a high of 68. Showers on the way for the overnight, low 54. Cloudy and showers tomorrow, high 61. 48 at O'Hare. Next news coming up at 6. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. So Ken Griffin, formerly of Chicago, now of Miami, the greater Miami area, and his Citadel company, the hedge fund that he founded, Harvard alum, has joined fellow Harvard alum and hedge fund billionaire Bill Ackman in saying that he will not hire students who signed on to the letter issued by the Palestinian Solidarity Committee on the campus of Harvard University. These leaders would have been considered adults 100 years ago, and the decision to add their group's names to the letter was unforgivable. Focusing on the leaders of the groups. How do you end up in such a twisted place? It is despicable that leaders of these student groups did not immediately condemn the terrorist atrocities by Hamas, but instead blamed Israel for them. The members of these groups should swiftly denounce the hateful actions of their leadership and demand a change.
312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line. You can also reach us all morning long on that text line that's exploding, 64636. Type in DA, then a quick comment.
He also reportedly called for Harvard President Claudine Gay to voice a more full-throated defense of Israel as opposed to her very Michael Schill, he of Northwestern, Michael Schill statement, hey, look, I have my personal opinions, but I don't want to crowd out anybody's right to free speech on campus. All of a sudden, these totalitarian administrators are huge defenders of free speech. Very interesting development. But back to Ken Griffin. You impressed? Would you follow suit? I mean, even at a local level, even if you don't have a company with thousands of employees.
Well, kids are the way they are because of their professors. I mean, I hear stories from Peyton and Eli all the time about how this professor's so woke and keeps talking about BLM and it's so annoying. And I mean, they created the monster that they have in front of them. And people are just waking up to it now, but the hate's been there for a long time, as you and I have discussed, and it's just coming to light because of the Israeli war that's going on.
With the Ken Griffin, the Bill Ackman, the John Huntsman saying, I'm not going to give money to Cornell anymore. Or, no, excuse me, Penn anymore. The Huntsman Foundation won't give money to Penn anymore for the same reasons. All these Ivy League schools. Cornell we'll get to in a second. So are you impressed? You impressed by Ken Griffin and Bill Ackman? Because there's been a lot of cheerleading. There's a lot of cheerleading for Ackman. He was the first one to come out. So I'm not going to hire him. We're going to highlight the people who signed this petition. We're going to call on our Wall Street friends to not hire them, and so on and so forth. Some law firms have done the same. Winston & Strawn rescinding an employment opportunity for an NYU law grad for similar reasons. Are you impressed? You think this is an example of the cajillionaire set finally waking up to the reality of the schools that they fund. You feel like the schools are finally understanding what they've suborned on campus and the professorate? Or do you feel like this is all a lot of cosplay to cover our people's respective backsides? I mean, are you going to follow suit? Are you going to? I mean, a lot of employers, as I was saying, you don't have to have tens of thousands of employees, thousands of employees to do a social media search on someone before you hire them. You don't have to have a huge HR department to say, you know, I want to look at specific things with these individuals, specific moments that may have been tells as to who they really are, as opposed to, you know, who they present themselves in an interview, which is, you know, very much like a first date. You like that? You think that's the play, and it's an illustration of a recognition that there needs to be a paradigm shift in higher education? 312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line. 646-36DA, turnkey.pro text line. Now, I say that against the backdrop that Ken Griffin has given $500 million to Harvard. Wow. I say that, so again, I know we're only supposed to, and this is what he wants, supposed to look at the statement he's making now. What about what he was doing for all those years with all those millions? Was it unknowable what was happening on the campus of Harvard? Were there not other examples of intolerant, sophomoric, barbaric behavior on campuses in the Ivy League, including Harvard? This is all new. This was subterranean until, the weekend before last. No. The Huntsman Foundation will close its checkbook on all future giving to Penn. That's yesterday. Longtime Penn supporters will halt donations to unrecognizable university. It's just unrecognizable, whatever that means, from what it used to be, whatever that was, as of the weekend before last. Is that what you want me to believe? Run down the list. Spin the wheel. Pick a university, any university, just about. Doesn't have to be Ivy League. Doesn't have to be quote-unquote elite school. The Stanford professor who's on hiatus after separating Jews in the classroom. Jews over here. Now you know what the Palestinians feel like. That's a fun exercise. How about this dude from Cornell? Since I mentioned him, this is making the rounds now, from a weekend rally in support of the Palestinians, and mainly the support of the Palestinians by these academics is just expressed in hatred of Israel and Jewish people. Cornell University Associate History Professor Russell Rickford.
It was exhilarating. It was exhilarating. It was energizing. If they weren't exhilarated by this challenge to the monopoly of violence, by this shifting of the balance of power, then they would not be human. I was exhilarated.
I'm exhilarated, and if you're not exhilarated by the Hamas attack, then you wouldn't be human. It's exhilarating.
It was energizing, yes.
This challenge to the monopoly of violence in the Middle East. That's Cornell. Oh, now you get some Cornell students saying, oh, he shouldn't have said that. And I'm sure you'll have some Cornell donors say, oh, I don't like that. I mean, it's not just Ken Griffin, too. And Bill Ackman. I'm just highlighting the high-profile people. They like to be highlighted. So if you like to be highlighted, you're going to be highlighted in a lot of different directions. You don't get to just pick and choose. So here's some highlighting. And that also includes the Israeli billionaire on the board of Harvard University who just resigned over the collective response both from the students and the administration vis-a-vis the students. Oh, you're on the board of Harvard? You're an Israeli? And you just came to realize what was going on campus the weekend before last? Is that what you want me to believe? Am I supposed to applaud you? Is that what you want? It seems to me that what we have here is a lot of people very comfortable with the status when there's no price to be paid. Very comfortable having their names put on buildings because these are revered institutions. How do we know? Because they tell us they're revered. Because the U.S. News and World Report says they should be. It's not based on performance. Yeah, obviously they have a lot of smart people that run through there, and a lot of the sons and daughters of the wealthy and the successful, and that's all well and good. A lot of those kids, and certainly those kids that went through the Ivy League or Northwestern or Stanford and went on to do wonderful things that advanced the cause of humanity, they were going to do that if they went to Harvard or Northwestern or Illinois State or wherever. I mean, the networks and the meetings, and I get it. I get the benefits, okay? So we don't have to go down that rabbit hole. But the status without consequence, and then when I'm exposed for what I have been underwriting, what I have been willfully blind to, then I get on my hind legs and I say, no more. How could this? This is outrageous. I'm so disappointed. They should denounce this and they should stop doing that because I need to be exonerated. By the way, it's the same thing that goes on the other side, including in the Jewish community, as we talked about a bit yesterday. When it comes to, sort of their affiliation with the Democrat Socialist Party. Out of guilt. Hey, I'm going to go make $1 kajillion on Wall Street or whatever. I'm going to be a big shot, BSD in the media or somewhere else. And, then I'll raise my paddle at a JUF event and I'll say, hey, look, I paid at the office. I did my part. I'm a good person. I'm exonerated from any of the implications of the policies I support, the people I support, the institutions I support. I'm exonerated. I raised my paddle at that JUF event. I made a statement denouncing these Hamas sympathizers on campus at Harvard. You'll have to excuse me if I'm not impressed, because I know a lot of people are. Jordan and Antioch here on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Morning, Dan. Morning, Amy. I would be semi-impressed if these guys backed their play. I would be semi-impressed if they actually followed through with it. But unfortunately, I think they're full of crap. And I think that, the history of hate and all this started last week at these universities. You didn't see any of this prior to beheadings and burned babies put on Twitter and social media, and where would their morality, where would their mindset be had it not been put on public display and then revealed that these guys are big backers of these people? I think their opinions would never change. But like you said, they got caught with their fingers in the cookie jar, and now they have to be, oh, woe is me, this is a terrible thing, and then you're going to still feed these organizations through back channels through other corporations. I don't know. I think, like you said, they're bloviating. They're look at me, look at what I'm doing, and then they're going to go right back to doing what they're doing. So, no, I'm not impressed. I think they're full of crap. I think they're all liars, and I don't think they would have changed their mindset had it been broadcast, and then they had to feign moral outrage.
Thanks for the call, Jordan. Yeah, well, it would be interesting to see if there's attention brought to, I rescinded a job offer. I chose not to hire this person. They're not going to talk about that. This is press release politics from corporate America. They're not.
You don't think that they have a staff that's going to go through and make sure that they're not
maybe,
on the list?
maybe not.
They have people.
Yeah, maybe not, and then they're going to highlight those individuals. They're going to say, John Smith came in here for a job, but he was one of the student group leaders that signed on to the Israel apartheid. The Hamas attack was exhilarating sort of letter that was circulating on the campus of Harvard. So we told John Smith that we're not hiring you. You expect announcements like that to be coming from the worlds of high finance and elsewhere? I wouldn't. I wouldn't expect it. This is the seeking of status by other means. Tina and Joliet, you're on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Hi, good morning, guys. I agree with you guys. It's performative. I'm appreciative of it. I'm glad they're doing it. It's long overdue. There's overt terrorist support on our college campuses, and it's taught throughout the halls of these elite universities. But what I want to say is that, years ago when my son was in high school, he started going down a path that I saw was disastrous. So I had to make a very hard decision. I pulled him away from his friend group. I took him out of that school. I took away every luxury in the kid's life. And for 2 years, he finished school somewhere else away from the environment that I felt was toxic. The parents need to reevaluate what they're doing, how they're, quote, supporting their children and educating them. This is a cancer in this country. Parents need to, if your kid is out there protesting in support of Hamas, you owe it to your child to give them a hard dose of reality. You cut them off financially. You give them a choice. You either get your ass home, or we cut you no cell phone, no car, no tuition, nothing. You support terrorism on your own dime. I'm done. This is about saving your child and benefiting the country. We're at that point. These universities are cesspools, absolute cesspools, and they're destroying our children.
Thanks for the call, Tina. Well, the comments too. Russell Rickford, the attack is exhilarating. Columbia University politics professor Joseph Massad, who called the terrorist attack in Gaza awesome. It's really telling when you use descriptions like that. It's not saying it was justified because Israel is an apartheid state, or they're an occupier, they're an oppressor. They're not even making arguments. They're just celebrating the senseless slaughter of kids at a concert.
It's like it was pent-up energy, too. Like they've been waiting their whole lives to make this declarative statement.
It's next-level depravity.
Yeah.
It's not just a bad argument. It's not just a geopolitical misdirection. It's next-level depravity. That's how you know there is hatred in the heart. And so that's where you want to spend $80,000 sending your kid? That's what you're going to underwrite? Because I went to Columbia. I'm a Columbia man. I'm a Yale man. I'm a Princeton man. Northwestern, Stanford, George Washington. They've got George Washington University has one too. Posting, all this pro-Hamas propaganda and so forth. She's already under federal investigation, I believe a Title IX investigation for mistreating Jewish students in her classroom. Greg, Jefferson Park.
Hey, good morning, guys. I think something similar to this is the same thing that we saw when the attack on those people first happened. You got everybody up in Highland Park, including Fat Man, talking about how we need to support the Israelis and everything else. You know what? There's few people in Israel that don't walk around with an AR-15 strapped to them, not hidden or anything else. Yet I'll bet every one of those people, Pritzker, the mayor of Highland Park, what happened on July 4th, last year, 2 years ago, they want to take all of our guns, but they got no problem with Israelis walking around with guns to be able to defend themselves against terrorists. Well, everything we got going on here in this country, I'm sure there's terrorists all over the place with the millions of people crossing the border.
Well, that's a whole nother issue. Yeah. Thanks for the call, Greg. Something else too. I would find all of the high-profile individuals offering statements of denunciation in response to the intemperate rhetoric and the failure to speak with moral clarity from professors and university presidents. I would be a little bit more impressed if it was preceded with a, you know what, this is on me too. I was flying blind, or I thought this was, just kids going through their growing pains on a college campus, getting their protest on, and I didn't take it as seriously as I should. I didn't understand how sclerotic my alma mater had become, how far off the rails it had gone. And so that's on me too, and now I'm really going to make a pivot here. But I'm not hearing that. I'm hearing, what is a version of poverty simulation in Highland Park, since Highland Park was brought up. That's what I'm hearing. All right, coming up at 6:06, more on this topic, and also we have to get to the House Speaker's race. Will Jim Jordan be able to cobble together the necessary votes today in the second round of balloting? 6:06.
And President Biden in Israel speaking now. Mike Scott will have more on that.
Fox News with the very latest on President Biden in Israel and a vigil held for a 6-year-old boy. WIND Chicago News Time is 6 o'clock.
By the other team. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. Those are President Biden's words this morning in Israel, believing it was Palestinian militants, not the Israelis, to blame for yesterday's bombing of a hospital in Gaza, killing hundreds of Palestinian civilians.
We have to also bear in mind that Hamas does not represent all the Palestinian people, and has brought them only suffering.
The president showing American support for Israel, meeting with their war cabinet in Tel Aviv right now. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said moments ago,
while Israel seeks to minimize civilian casualties, Hamas seeks to maximize civilian casualties.
And he says they'll continue to work to free hostages Hamas is holding. As for the hospital bombing, Israel blames another terror group that's been firing rockets at it.
The Israelis say they did not strike this hospital yard. They say it was an Islamic Jihad rocket that misfired landing inside Gaza. Hamas, the group in control of the strip, says that it was an Israeli strike. We are gathering more information, and the Israelis continue to release evidence to support their claim.
That's Fox's Trey Yingst in southern Israel. There have been anti-Israel and anti-American protests in the region, including at the U.S. Embassy in Beirut, Lebanon. Israel's war has overshadowed Russia's invasion of Ukraine, where American long-range missiles have been used for the first time.
The weapons have proven themselves, says President Volodymyr Zelensky. Ukraine putting into use the sought-after ATACMS missile. We're told ATACMS were used to hit 2 Russian air bases in occupied parts of Ukraine. The U.S. finally agreed to send the weapons after Kyiv promised not to use them on targets in Russia itself.
Fox's Jonathan Savage. The House will try again to elect Jim Jordan Speaker the day after 20 of his fellow Republicans voted against him. Congressman Tim Burchett tells Fox.
Some of them are saying they just don't want to give people like myself and others that voted to oust the Speaker the pleasure of a victory. This is no victory. This just proves the dysfunction in the House of Representatives in both parties.
America's listening to Fox News.
48 degrees at 6:02 on AM 560. The Answer. Good morning. I'm Mike Scott. A DeKalb County home destroyed, flattened following a massive explosion that sparked a fire. The home exploded yesterday. One woman hospitalized with non-life-threatening injuries. A family displaced following a fire that destroyed their home. Tuesday evening in Hawthorne Woods, Lake Zurich Fire confirms they were called out just after 4 p.m. Some members of the Plainfield community gathered Tuesday evening to remember and honor the life of a 6-year-old Palestinian-American boy killed over the weekend in what prosecutors say was a hate crime.
One of our own here in Plainfield, and he's no longer with us due to this tragic murder. My heart goes out to his father, who is present with us, as an uncle, and the whole family, because no parent should ever have to experience this pain.
Mayor John Argodelis, several family members were in attendance. 71-year-old Joseph Chuba allegedly attacked the boy and 32-year-old Hanan Shaheen. She is recovering from over a dozen stab wounds after prosecutors say she was attacked after stating she was a Muslim. Chuba, according to an assistant state's attorney, was also angry at the family for what was going on in Jerusalem. Plans are moving forward to demolish parts of the Thompson Center in Chicago. Cities granted permits to begin tearing down the exterior and atrium of the iconic downtown building. Google purchased the Thompson Center last year. About 350 healthcare and retail workers associated with the Howard Brown Health Center have voted in favor of a strike, the second of its kind at Howard Brown in less than 12 months. Strike vote was held last week among 366 members of Howard Brown Health Workers United. Votes were counted yesterday. Bulls lost to the Raptors 106-102 at the UC. Phillies, 2 wins away from advancing to the World Series for a second straight year. Kyle Schwarber with 2 solo home runs in the Phillies' 10-0 win over the Diamondbacks. The news service of Dan and Amy 24/7, around the clock, all day, every day. Listen now, danandamy247.com. A check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
Join us for the Bank the Blue Gala on Friday, October 27th at the Donald E. Stevens Convention Center in Rosemont. Welcome address by Masters of Ceremonies, Fox 32 anchor Anita Padilla and sports anchor Lou Canellis as we raise both awareness and funds for our heroes in blue that need our support. Bank the Blue is a nonprofit organization that funds confidential mental health services and officer wellness programs for Illinois law enforcement officers. Local departments alone are unable to provide the mental health wellness services that their officers so desperately need. The goal of this event is to build awareness surrounding the importance of officer wellness, to combat the stigma associated with officers and mental health, and to fundraise for this important cause. We anticipate 1,000 attendees from both the law enforcement and civilian communities. The third annual Bank the Blue fundraising gala is on Friday, October 27th at the Donald E. Stevens Convention Center. Corporate sponsorship opportunities and individual tickets are available. Visit bankthebluegala.com for more details. That's bankthebluegala.com.
All right, Christmas will be here before we know it. If you're looking for a really special gift, I encourage you to check out the firearms made right here in America by our great friends at Henry Repeating Arms. Now, you start by going to their website, henryusa.com, order their free holiday gift guide, and they'll mail it with free decals that you can use for stocking stuffers. Perfect timing. Folks, when you give someone a Henry, you're giving them a work of art that is built with the finest craftsmanship I've ever seen as a collector. Now, their performance is top-notch. Mine were accurate, all of them, right out of the box. They shoot smooth and straight, and they have been reliable ever since. They have over 200 models of rifles and shotguns and revolvers to choose from. One of the things I like the most about these firearms, they're family heirlooms. They'll always be backed by the company's lifetime warranty. So if you want to put something that's made in America under the tree this Christmas, henryusa.com. Get their free gift guide and their decals today. That's henryusa.com. You will love this company.
You don't need me to tell you how great it feels to lose weight. If you watch me on Salem News Channel, you may have noticed my 53 pounds of weight loss from PhD Weight Loss and Nutrition. What you need me to do is tell you how to do it, and this is the way. This is the only way that I found was effective, was long-lasting. I lost that stubborn, visceral belly fat. I was never hungry. I'm so proud to tell you about Dr. Ashley Lucas's program called PhD Weight Loss and Nutrition, and they're with you for life. They're going to give you the tools to not only take the weight off for the last time, because you're going to keep it off. It's not the cheapest program out there. It's not the most expensive, but it is the best. It's based on science, data. Use their food, use your food, use a combination of both, but get started. When you're ready to make the call, here's their number, 864-644-1900. PhD Weight Loss, 864-644-1900, or schedule your appointment online, myphdweightloss.com, myphdweightloss.com.
6:07, let's get an update on the roads. Team Hochberg Traffic Center time. We will start on the Bishop Ford this morning, where there was an accident with a left lane block inbound between 130th and 115th. Delays into the Ryan merge. The Ryan 17 into the Burns Circle interchange. Stevenson already jammed up. Harlem to Kedzie. Right now, 44 minutes from as you travel inbound from 355 into DuSable Lakeshore Drive. Icahn 39, 390 to the old post office. The Kennedy 32 into the Burns Circle. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next. AM 560 Weather Center forecast with Steve Williams.
Partly sunny, breezy, terrific day. High today at 68. Partly cloudy, couple of showers early tonight, low 54. Clouds and rain tomorrow, the high 61. Partly sunny, a shower in spots on Friday, the high Friday 62. I'm Steve Williams on AM 560, The Answer.
48 at O'Hare, next news 6:30. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
This hourly segment is brought to you by CharlesEquipment.com. Keeping you powered up, no matter what the conditions. CharlesEquipment.com.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560. The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. Picking up on what we were talking about last hour and expanding on it a bit. One university I didn't mention in our discussion of Ken Griffin and Bill Ackman as it pertains to Harvard, and the Huntsman family as it pertains to Penn and the other Ivy League schools. We got this email. How about St. Xavier University right here in Chicago? This email from a junior at St. Xavier. I'm a junior at St. Xavier. Received the following message by the Assistant Director of Campus Life via mass email, quoting. He was quoting as well. We will demonstrate our solidarity with a march around the main campus in support of our brothers and sisters. Please come and show your support for all the innocent lives that were lost and provide justice to the people of Palestine. Hashtag Free Palestine. St. Xavier University is a Catholic university. Yeah, right. Like DePaul is, like Loyola is, like Georgetown is. Catholic universities. Hilarious. That's from the Assistant Director of Campus Life. That's not from a student group, like a Palestinian or Arab American student group, something like this. From the Assistant Director of Campus Life. That's the, one could argue, the official position of St. Xavier University. So, you know, I don't have to worry about it. My kids don't go to the Ivy League. We can't afford Northwestern or Stanford, even if we had the grades. So, you know, going here locally where, you know, all the elite politics that we read about doesn't exist. Yeah, it does. Sure does. Something else about the reaction to all this that extends beyond Hamas's terrorist attack in Gaza certainly includes the reaction here, the cultural reaction here in America. Beckett Adams had a good piece about this. Do you get the sense, over at WashingtonExaminer.com, I should hasten to add, you get the sense that the left wants its political opponents dead? You get that sense? I don't want my political opponents dead. I'm not wishing death on anyone. I don't want them to be in charge. They don't want us to be around. You get the difference? 312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line. 64636DA, turnkey.pro text line. Beckett Adams writing, recall the pandemic? Do you remember that? COVID-19 pandemic?
That thing, yeah. Still lurking around.
Don't forget how they hoisted high the corpse of former GOP presidential candidate Herman Cain in order to make some larger political point about Republican anti-science. Don't forget the left-wing media personalities who spent entire news cycles gloating over the deaths of conservatives and right-wingers who had previously protested lockdowns, expressed skepticism of the vaccines, or even the deadliness of the virus itself. In fact, there are many still playing that game.
They were talking about Herman Cain the other day. Like, oh, if he wouldn't have gone to that Trump rally, he'd still be alive. Oh, really? Really? You know that. Okay.
Deborah Cleaver is the founder of Vote.org. She had this to say about Mary Lou Retton. Olympic gymnast Mary Lou Retton. You saw the
Yeah.
stories about her having this
She's pneumonia, rare form of pneumonia. But
right.
I heard last report I heard is she's getting better.
Vote.org founder Deborah Cleaver. Mary Lou Retton is in the ICU, uninsured, with severe breathing problems. This is awful, and I wish her a speedy recovery. Omitted from most coverage is that she is a millionaire Republican, willfully uninsured, likely unvaccinated, and I'm guessing COVID positive.
What the heck is that?
I'm not sure you actually wish her that speedy recovery. I'm not sure I believe that,
That
given the sentence that followed.
That doesn't seem too sincere, Dan. And how does she know? She doesn't know any of that. What is she talking about? If she was a millionaire, she wouldn't be having her daughters wouldn't have a GoFundMe page to raise money for her.
There are other examples of this. It's not even worth discussing on the merits. It's the larger point. They're cheering for your death if you disagree. Last year in Florida, when Hurricane Ian wiped out a lot of Southwest Florida. Now is climate change real? Get what you deserve.
They're hoping it would wipe out Republicans. You people down there in Florida.
They're so. I mean, it just repeats itself across every issue. If you disagree, you should die. That is the position of the new Marxists who find themselves positioned as the center of gravity in the Democrat Party in this country and of labor and other leftist parties in the Western world. We don't want them in power. We don't want them in charge. They don't want us around. Starting to resonate? 312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line. 64636DA, turnkey.pro text line. Let me give you another example. Let's go example. We could do all morning of examples of this in the not too distant past. We don't even have to go that far back. Frankly, in real time. General Michael Hayden, one of the revered four-star generals, intel agency chiefs, storied career in government, providing for the security of our nation. That's what we're supposed to believe. That's what I used to believe about generals, or that used to be at least my default position about generals and heads of the CIA and heads of the FBI. These are people that have important jobs, and they're largely doing great work focused on providing for America's safety, both domestically and internationally. I don't believe that so much anymore. And it's because of the Jim Clappers and the James Comeys and the Christopher Wrays and the John Brennans and the Michael Haydens. Alam Bakari, who's an investigative tech reporter for Breitbart, he wants you to know what Michael Hayden's doing right now, in addition to calling for the death of Tommy Tuberville, the senator from Alabama, who is holding up military appointments because of the leadership of the military. Lloyd Austin, Mark Milley, speaking of what I was talking, because of their focus on social engineering and radical left politics in the military, like funding abortions and trans surgeries and so forth. Meanwhile, report out that 70% of military enlisted are overweight. Interesting. Keeping your eye on the prize, focus. So what's Michael Hayden up to now, in addition to, again, calling for the elimination of his political opponents? Very in keeping with the left. Oh, he's also part of an organization called NewsGuard. And you should know about this. Former CIA director, four-star general. What's he up to now? Shutting up conservatives. If we can't get rid of you, if we can't eradicate you from the face of the earth, the least we can do is shut you up.
Michael Hayden has been in the news lately after he called for Republican Senator Tommy Tuberville to be, quote-unquote, removed from the human race. a comment the senator condemned as a call for assassination. This wasn't the first partisan outburst from Hayden. He's also compared Trump supporters to the Taliban, called the Trump movement more dangerous than Al-Qaeda, and even said that unvaxxed MAGA supporters should be given a one-way ticket to Afghanistan. But who is Michael Hayden, and why should we care? Hayden is currently an advisor to NewsGuard, an organization that claims to offer non-partisan assessments on the trustworthiness of news outlets. More on them later. First, let's take a look at the man who wants Americans to disappear for their political beliefs. This is a former 4-star general who was at the pinnacle of the US intelligence community. He served under 3 presidents, going from one top spy role to the next. He was director of the NSA under Clinton and Bush, at a time when its domestic surveillance of Americans went into overdrive. He was deputy director of national intelligence, again under Bush. And he was director of the CIA under Bush and Obama. Throughout this long career as a spy chief, Hayden was accused of brazenly lying to Congress and the American people about everything from the surveillance of Americans to torture programs in the War on Terror. Before Hayden became a professional anti-MAGA pundit, the liberal media was happy to report on his long record of lies and half-truths. What's this former propaganda master doing now, you ask? He's on the board of advisors of NewsGuard. That's right, this ex-spook, who stands accused of lying to Congress and the American people for decades, is now working with an organization that claims to be an authority on truth and falsehood. It's actually not that surprising. NewsGuard's stated purpose is to blacklist certain media outlets, trying to discredit them and starve them of advertising revenue. The organizations they have focused on are overwhelmingly conservative and anti-establishment. The Global Disinformation Index, which was caught red-handed advising advertisers to financially throttle conservative websites, is another example. Organizations like NewsGuard play a key role in the vast industry that is now dedicated to social media censorship and financial blacklisting. By maintaining lists of disfavored news sources, they provide social media companies and advertisers with an easy roadmap telling them who to censor and who to promote. NewsGuard gives its stamp of approval to news outlets that repeatedly push gigantic falsehoods, like Russiagate and the P dossier, while downgrading the sources that question those narratives. And then there's Michael Hayden. Here's a guy who's been engaged in cover-ups and disinformation campaigns for his entire career, advising a company that claims to be in the truth business. He even promoted misinformation while he was a NewsGuard advisor. In 2020, he lent his name to an infamous open letter, falsely claiming that the Hunter Biden laptop story was quote-unquote Russian disinformation. The co-founder of NewsGuard, Stephen Brill, bought that lie. In the closing months of 2020, he went on national TV to claim, without evidence, that the Hunter Biden laptop story was a likely Russian hoax. This false claim spread throughout the mainstream media, resulted in the censorship of one of the most significant election year stories, no doubt impacting the final result of the ballot box. The career of Michael Hayden is a reminder that the business of intelligence is inextricably tied to the business of propaganda and misinformation. And in the digital era, there's no better place to do that than with an organization that wants to tell you who you should trust.
Wants to tell you who you're allowed to listen to. Wants to tell you what you're allowed to think, or else what you're allowed to think at the point of a gun, ultimately. Tom in Blue Island.
Hey, good morning, Dan and Amy. Dan, this seems to follow a congruent line. If leftism is a religion and you're not of that religion, then your death is probably seen as righteous. I've believed this for years. I know this extends further than Trump supporters, but I've always felt if they could kill Trump or Trump supporters, to them it would be circumstance. It would just be a line to their victory. And maybe not just, maybe kill is the wrong word, Dan. Like if you were to die, like you said, with Herman Cain, that's okay because you're not on their side. And if you're not on their side, you don't have you don't have a right to live as far as they're concerned.
Thanks for the call, Tom. The other Tom in Oswego.
Good morning, Dan and Amy. I agree. I think for years, I always felt that Democrats, left-leaning people, don't really want to talk about the ideas, and argue in the arena. They just want to promote what they believe, and that's it. And if you don't agree with it,
you're castigated, and they don't want to talk to you. I've tried to talk with people who don't agree with me, and they're on the other side, and I try to understand what their line of thinking is. I really do. But there's no sense talking to them because they have a certain belief in their minds, and whether it's right or wrong, they'll stick to it. And even if they know it's wrong, because if they backtrack, that sort of deflates their whole argument for everything. So they figure, well, I can't even backtrack on anything I believe, because if I do, that leaves an opening for people that have common sense. It's really sad. And thanks, guys.
Thanks for the call, Tom. This is a ideology that eliminates people who are inconvenient, both at the beginning of life, at the end of life. Abortion on demand, all 9 months. Post-delivery abortion. That's when you have a conversation, according to former Virginia Governor Ralph KKK Northam, remember? Abortion on demand, all 9 months, taxpayer funded. Shout your abortion, celebrate. On the back end, euthanasia. And then it's not even on the back end anymore. You're feeling a little bit down in the dumps, get rid of them. They're the fully autonomous human being. I've seen that in the Western world. Now we're seeing it in the Pacific Northwest here. It's not just for people with intractable diseases anymore. It's for people that have a mental illness that,
if you're depressed,
that's potentially treatable. Regardless, they are in the business of empowering the state, and ideally, in their world, controlling the state they empower, to decide who lives and who dies. So is it any wonder? Should it be any surprise? The statements you're hearing about people who don't comply with their COVID orthodoxy, with their climate change, apocalyptic climate change orthodoxy, with their solidarity and marginality program that they believe they can leverage for that state control that I described. Any wonder that anybody who becomes inconvenient is, to borrow a phrase, an enemy of the state. And you know what you have to do to enemies of the state in order to make sure everyone's safe, in order to protect our democracy. The patinas they use to cloak their motivations. And this isn't reading into somebody's heart. This is paying attention to their behavior. Frank, Arlington Heights.
Good morning. Arthur Schlesinger Sr. wrote a book about the 1930s called The Crisis of the Old Order. And that old order was, of course, the order from the Civil War until the 1920s and the New Deal. And I have to tell you, as our economy financializes more and we reach the end of the Kondratiev cycle here, the left just keeps getting more and more unhinged because their old order is crumbling. And I think you can file these in that this is like the psychodrama chapter of a new book we could title The Crisis of the Liberal Order. I think it's just, you keep hearing it, these rantings and these ravings. They're unhinged. They really are, and they see it. They see what's happening.
Thanks
so
for
they
the
go
call.
unhinged.
Thanks for the call, Frank. Another example of this, text from 847. Kathy Griffin holding up the, mock severed head of Donald Trump. Remember that?
So disgusting.
Does that give you any sort of insight into the attitude? I hope so. Mary in Beverly.
Good morning. So going through this for the second time over here on the South Side with the schools, and we just challenged the use of social emotional learning at our grade school, and we got a meeting with the principal and pastor. We got, which was unfruitful, and then after an email exchange where I tried to give some examples that it didn't align with Catholic teaching and I didn't think it was should be used, or at least please pull my child out. We got an email that said, if you still have reservations, we respect your right to consider other schools for your children.
Mm-hmm.
We had never talked about leaving the school, but it would sure be easier for them if we just shut up and moved on.
Right.
Yeah, they want you to leave.
Thanks for the call, Mary. Right.
Got
Yeah,
it.
you're not talking about it, but they are.
Yeah, got a text messages. Dan and Amy, they showed their true colors during COVID. No jab, no insurance, no treatment.
And it doesn't matter that they were wrong.
Well, they'll
Doesn't
never
matter
admit that they were wrong.
that everything that they said about what was going to guarantee somebody's safety and so forth, doesn't matter that it was wrong. You're wrong. You know why? Because I said so. And I'm willing to impose the ultimate consequence on your wrongheadedness with your head. Bob in Buffalo Grove.
Good morning, Dan and Amy. Thanks for taking my call.
This is Chicago's Morning Answers archivist, by the way. Anyway, go ahead, Bob.
Oh, yes.
Yes, 9 years next year.
Thank you.
Yes,
thank you.
With regards to you, they didn't try to kill you, but they did try to silence you.
Yeah.
Recall your newspaper, how they tried to eliminate your speech with regards to the paper that you distributed. I wonder how many other people are trying to be silenced. What's going on with this new administration? They just don't like opposing speech.
Right. I'm sure that.
Day.
Thanks for the call, Bob. Yeah, there would be crocodile tears if my passing was untimely. But yeah, you're right. I mean, NewsGuard is just an extension of the collaboration that we know about, thanks to Elon Musk and the Twitter Files journalists. The collaboration we know between the big social media platforms and the federal and federal government writ large, all the agencies. This is all documented now. We know that, but they don't stop there. We brought this to the other day. $500 million that's being cobbled together by the MacArthur Foundation to do what the old model can't do anymore, which is to do quote unquote local news, which is to say local news outlets that are leftist propagandists, just like the major dailies that nobody reads anymore. The NPR Times and the Chicago Tribune are going the way of the dodo bird, so they need to come up with a new version of the old play. And anybody that would do something different, independent with local news, be transparent about the stories they're going to cover, where they're coming from, like the group I'm a part of was, well, fake news, right-wing propagandists. I mean, the typical projection and categorical smearing, so you don't have to address any of the issues on the merits, including what you're doing to privately finance and stand up news organizations because the old models don't work for the old media. No, it's fascinating times. But, again, as Thomas Sowell always reminds us, examine the premises from which people start. It will provide the map to their conclusions.
Coming up on Chicago's Morning Answer.
All right, it's been pretty heavy this morning. Let's lighten it up with a new installment of Sports and Politics at 6:36.
But now let's head into the newsroom. Here's Mike Scott.
48 degrees, and we will have showers on the way this evening. For now, cloudy skies at 6:32. President Biden says it appears the deadly explosion at a hospital in Gaza was, quote, done by the other team.
I'm deeply saddened and outraged by the explosion at the hospital in Gaza yesterday. And based on what I've seen, it appears as though it was done by the other team, not you.
Biden making the comment shortly after arriving in Israel today, speaking with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu.
This will be a different kind of war because Hamas is a different kind of enemy. While Israel seeks to minimize civilian casualties, Hamas seeks to maximize civilian casualties.
Hundreds are believed to have died in the hospital explosion. Because of that explosion, President Biden will no longer travel to Jordan today. Following his trip to Israel, Biden had planned to meet with Arab leaders in a summit in Amman. Another vote will be held this morning to elect a new Speaker of the House. Ohio Republican Jim Jordan failed to get the necessary votes during the first ballot of the vote on the House floor.
I rise today to nominate the gentleman from Ohio, Jim Jordan, as Speaker of the People's House.
Republican Florida Congressman Carlos Jimenez says right now he is a no vote on Jim Jordan.
I'll be voting for Kevin McCarthy on the floor. I will not be voting for Jim Jordan. I thought what happened 2 weeks ago was a travesty. It was an injustice. We had 8 Republicans. They lit the fuse, and then 208 Democrats provided the gunpowder for what's happened now in the United States in our House.
This morning's vote is scheduled for 10 a.m. Chicago time. A DeKalb County home is destroyed following a massive explosion that sparked a fire. One woman was hospitalized with non-life-threatening injuries. A family displaced following a massive blaze that destroyed their home in Hawthorne Woods. Lake Zurich Fire tells us the blaze broke out around 4 p.m. yesterday. A delegation of local leaders from Chicago are making the trip to the southern border, and their first stop today is in El Paso. The El Paso border sector is seeing a drop in migrant encounters, and shelters are seeing a drop as well. Leadership with the city of El Paso attributed the decrease to federal policy changes.
So federal policy did change a couple of weeks ago, and so that's why you're seeing this decline, this dip in the numbers.
Laura Cruz Acosta is communications director for the city of El Paso and coordinating the trip. The group will be meeting local shelter leaders like John Martin, who is deputy director for the Opportunity Center for the Homeless, who says the large numbers they see and put on buses all want to come to Chicago.
The availability of the buses that were being coordinated through the Office of Emergency Management. I do know that those buses have run daily, and I've heard numbers anywhere from 3 to 8 buses per day.
The delegation of local leaders will also be taking a trip to the southern border itself. Plans are moving forward to demolish parts of the Thompson Center. City has granted permits to begin tearing down the exterior and atrium of the iconic downtown building. Google purchased the Thompson Center last year. United Airlines says it earned about $1.14 billion in the vacation-heavy third quarter, but the airline forecast weaker profits for the rest of the year due to surging jet fuel prices and the suspension of flights to Tel Aviv. Bulls fell in the final minutes of a 106-102 preseason loss against the Raptors in Chicago. Zach LaVine, 25. Phillies beat the Diamondbacks 10-0. 2 more Kyle Schwarber home runs. Bears hire another quarterback just in case, signing Penn State quarterback Trace McSorley to the practice squad. The news, a service of MyPillow. Big news. MyPillow 6-pack bath towel sets are back in stock. The proprietary technology makes them extremely absorbent, yet provides that soft feel you look for in a towel. For a limited time, 50% savings with promo code LIBERTY. A check of traffic and weather is on the way next on AM 560.
120 Life, the natural juice drink that helps lower your blood pressure in just 2 weeks or your money back. Here's another happy customer.
Hi, everybody. This is Mark from San Diego. I just wanted to give a little shout out to 120 Life and tell them how great I think the product is. I've been drinking it for almost 3 years, and it's really helped me with my blood pressure, my overall heart health, and the amount of energy I have and feeling good. I haven't even caught a cold in over 3 years, all through COVID. It's been a great product. I'm going to continue to drink it, and I recommend it for everybody. Give it a shot, and I think you'll love it.
Lower your blood pressure naturally in just 2 weeks or your money back guaranteed. To order, visit 120life.com. That's 120life.com. Order the 2-week trial pack and use coupon code DAN to save 15%. The natural solution to high blood pressure. Visit 120life.com and use coupon code DAN at checkout to save 15%.
From the studio that brought you Sound of Freedom comes After Death.
What happens after you die?
A new cinematic experience that explores some of life's biggest questions with expert interviews and first-hand accounts.
I never felt alive and then dead. I felt alive and then more alive.
I heard a voice before I woke up. You still have a purpose on Earth.
After Death. In theaters October 27th. Get tickets now or pay it forward at angel.com/afterdeath.
Relief Factor. Pain relief that's natural, pain relief that works, and pain relief that attacks the source of the pain. That's the experience of tens of thousands of Americans who are taking Relief Factor right now. See their incredible video endorsements at relieffactor.com and then order your 3-week quick starter pack for just $19.95. That's less than $1 a day. Find out if it can work for you like it works for me by ordering your 3-week quick starter pack today. relieffactor.com, relieffactor.com. Be the next success story.
Building owners, property managers, and chief engineers. This one's for you.
Hello, this is Bruce Diedrich with Waukegan Roofing, your professional roofer. Everything starts on top. Your investment, your building, and everything in it is protected by your roof. It needs to be in good shape. That's where we can help. If it needs to be repaired or replaced, or you think it might, call us. Let's find out. Here's the number.
847-623-1625.
At Waukegan Roofing, our employees are union-trained roofing professionals with OSHA safety training certifications and have thorough knowledge and expertise regarding the various roofing systems we sell, maintain, and install. We know commercial roofing systems because that's all we do. Over 110 years of doing commercial roofs. Waukegan Roofing has the slogan,
Roofs you can rely on.
Because you can. Here's the number to call.
847-623-1625.
And get the info at WaukeganRoofing.com. WaukeganRoofing.com.
Exergen thermometers are a top choice of medical professionals at highly ranked hospitals across the U.S. Accuracy matters, so make Exergen the chosen thermometer for your home and family.
6:39. Let's get an update on the roads. We do that, of course, in the Team Hochberg Traffic Center, a service of Indeed.com. As the leaves change, leave the hiring to Indeed to attract, interview, and hire candidates all from one place. And Indeed's interview tool lets you schedule and conduct virtual interviews right from their website at Indeed.com/credit. Eden's right now 27 minutes in from Lake Cook Road to the junction. The Kennedy at 51 O'Hare to the Burns Circle interchange. The Ike at 52 390 to the old post office. Stevenson 50 minutes in, 355 into DuSable Lakeshore Drive. And the Dan Ryan at 23 95th into the Burns Circle interchange. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next. AM 560 Weather Center forecast. Pleasant day ahead. We'll have partial sunshine this morning, breezy and much more cloudy by the afternoon. High 68, a low of 54 overnight. 48 at O'Hare. Next news at 7. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next on AM 560. The Answer.
This hourly segment brought to you by Unleash Your Wealth with Raj Shah and Rick Borick this Saturday at 7 a.m. and 2 p.m. Learn more at scwealthadvisors.com.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson.
Sports and politics and sports and politics and sports and politics and intersection. Arrogance and ignorance, arrogance, ignorance, and arrogance and ignorance. Intersection.
I got a few things to cover in this latest edition of Sports and Politics. But first, again.
Oh, do you? Yes.
I want to make this public safety announcement for the North Shore. We're down to about 72 hours before the 1 versus 2 matchup. Mount Carmel, the Animals from the south side caravan up to Wilmette to take on Loyola. And again, North Shore residents, look,
I mean, there's still time.
Make the plans to get to a safe place before, I'd say before Friday night. I mean, you don't want to be up against it.
My address, Debbie. That's it. Thank you. I live right across the street from Loyola. Now, last 2 Thursday nights ago, August 24th, there was back to school night. You couldn't even walk down the street. They allowed you to park on the other side of our block. And there were people that were walking their dogs, their kids were out. They almost got killed. And second of all, when they have halftime on Friday nights, where do you think they're going? To the bars. And then they're going to be walking the neighborhoods drunk. I mean, do you guys even care? And then crime's going to come in because when they play St. Rita or Mount Carmel, everybody just comes from everywhere on the south side of Chicago. And there was 4 robberies in our neighborhood. I mean, like, seriously. It's going to make crime up, and it's going to make people not want to buy around here.
Exactly
right.
right.
Those Southside Catholics are ruthless.
It's going to be mayhem. Look, this is, I mean, it's bad enough, the prospect of a Tears for Fears concert at Ryan Field. I mean, this is next level. So just take it seriously and,
Lock
get
your doors
out.
and windows now if you can't leave. Yeah.
Get up to Lake Geneva before the expressways get too crowded with all the people fleeing the North Shore and just get to a safe space.
Or
All right?
go to
Be
your
safe.
New Buffalo home, right?
Be safe out there. All right. Okay. Well, that's important.
That's great.
In addition to that, this was an interesting piece of research on student athletes at the collegiate level, and sort of speaks to some of the issues surrounding men playing women's sports that we talked about yesterday. We'll talk about again here. Recent research indicates that sports performance makes former student athletes more valuable in the workplace. Former college athletes are much more likely to enter the high-earning fields of business and finance relative to their non-athlete classmates. That can benefit the former students, their alma mater, and the economy overall, writes Tyler Cohen in his latest column in Bloomberg.
Because they're disciplined.
The research shows that student athletes are less likely to get a doctoral degree or become a medical doctor or to enter STEM fields. He asks, might it be that STEM jobs will become the province of the less athletic? Become? Haven't you seen Big Bang Theory? All right. He goes on to say, looking at just Ivy League graduates, most not going to the pros, former athletes do better in the labor market than non-athletes. The result holds even when controlled for school attended, year of graduation, field of study, and first jobs. Those same athletes are also more likely to hold senior positions. That could be evidence of leadership skills or of their ability to learn and improve over time, as good athletes must do. After 5 years, the earnings of the former college athletes start to outperform their non-athletic peers. He goes on to point out that the same study shows that athletes in more socioeconomically diverse sports, such as track and field, also earn more than their non-athletic peers, which suggests that their advantage doesn't come from having attended some fancy prep school or even necessarily a quote-unquote elite status school, but just because of what is required to be an athlete at the collegiate level. 312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line, 64636DA, turnkey.pro text line. And I assume it would be interesting to see, you're talking about, athletes that are recruited or walk on to existing programs. But I would even think at the club sport level, some of the club sports, which are pretty intense and competitive, that the same would hold true. The leadership skills that you acquire serve you well in
Well, it shows that you can
the
handle the
business world.
workload. I mean, that you can organize your time correctly, because if you're not getting your grades, they make sure that you get your grades. So you have to be well organized, and it shows that you're a leader, I think. And that you're committed, because you have to be committed. It's a lot of hours if you're going to be playing club, or if you're obviously going to be playing, collegiate Division 1, 2, or 3 ball.
Well, it's just interesting because then it speaks to, again, it just speaks to taking valuable spots at the next level, men taking valuable spots in women's sports, for example. Now, I understand the counter argument will be immediately, well, if Leah Thomas, the clownfish at Penn, takes a spot from a woman, that female swimmer who is not getting a scholarship to Penn or not being invited to swim on the women's swim team there's thousands of colleges where she probably could swim. But that's not really the point, is it? No, not really. It is interesting, the athlete thing, though, and how that translates into the private sector. And you sort of see the NCAA commercials, but that's obviously marketing. The NCAA commercials that always talk about they go into something professional other than sports, and the different athletes that from different schools that find success in various professions and so forth. Just sort of an interesting side note. One other thing, since we're talking about trans, just up and down the age demographics as well as across all sports, this is something. Let me introduce you to Liz Kosab. Liz Kosab. She, well, no, excuse me, not she. Liz Kosab is the women's fencing champion for 70 plus women, 70 years or older.
There's a job for me.
Mm-hmm. Take up fencing.
There's hope. Yes.
She beat, Liz, don't call me Greg Kosab, beat 14-time world champion Maria Lisa Samorja at the 5 veteran fencing world championships in the 70-plus category. Liz, don't call me Greg Kosab, has been fencing since he was in college when he was called Greg. Back then, he ranked 20th in the United States.
Oh, nice. And he it says he's a woman, and now he's number 1.
Well, I mean, this is some years removed from college. It's just interesting, in part because the picture of the two, it's very much like the picture of the two fencing. It's very much like the picture of that dude that was like 6'9". This is a decade ago now. This is how long it's been going on. Dude that was 6'9", playing Division III basketball. He was like 6'8", 6'9", 270, and he just...
Wasn't he a former Navy SEAL?
No, I don't think so.
One.
Anyway, here's Liz, don't call me Greg Kosab, answering the question, how do you do it? The picture. His reach is about twice the reach of this 14-time world champion. And I assume, I don't know fencing, but all I know about fencing is from watching The Princess Bride, but I assume that's important anyway.
World champion Liz Kosab, congratulations. 4 in a row now for you, 2 in the 60s, and now 2 more in the 70s, and 8 overall in your career. What keeps you coming back? What keeps you out there winning?
Well, I'm not quite sure.
Mm-hmm. Not quite sure.
Yeah, her arm length or his arm length is very long.
4 in a row.
Sport.
He's been dominating women's fencing, the senior division, for the better part of the last decade, it would appear. It's just interesting. It's fun. Speaking of fun, one more. We've got Superfans Next Generation.
Oh, this is the best ever.
The kids of the Superfans of yore, the George Wentz and the Chris Farleys, they've got a song.
Hello, darkness, my old friend. The Bears have lost the game again. Thought we were headed for 2 in a row, but Justin went down and I screamed, oh no. Then Bagent came in and he fumbled the freaking ball, and the Bears would fall. The Bears fans' hopes are dying. That Thursday night game sure was sweet. My expectations finally beat. Might have something we could build upon. I finally got to write a happy song. But then my eyes were stabbed by the flash of Kirk Cousins' clothes, all bought from Kohl's. The Bears fans' hopes are dying. Fools say, hey, you shoulda known. This team ain't built to take the throne. But I just wanted 2 wins in a row. I sure ain't asking for too much, you know. It's this team that I love that I just can't let go. They're all I know. The Bears fans' hopes are dying. The Bears.
Pretty good.
Yeah, they're wearing the outfits too, the mustache and the glasses. They don't have big pot bellies, but they're getting it done. That was good. It's very cathartic to listen to.
It's a nice parody use of The Sound of Silence, of course, the Simon and Garfunkel classic. Did you ever hear the Disturbed cover of that?
Oh yeah, I love that song. That's on my playlist.
That Disturbed cover, I mean, that's a powerful rendition. I love the arrangement there. And so since the Superfans Next Generation reminded me of it, here's a little piece of it for those who haven't heard Disturbed's version, you hippies. You know how I said that if I could have any singer's voice when we were talking about this, it would be Brian McKnight.
Yeah. Are you changing your mind?
No, I'm just saying, so that if you wanted that soulful, although it's close because that powerful ballad voice David Draymond has from Disturbed, that's pretty cool too. I like that.
It's a good song to spin to.
Yeah, and so is the Next Generation Superfans parody song. That's a good song to spin to too. Dan and Amy, Chicago's Morning Answer.
More Chicago radio listeners are choosing. This is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
Homeowners experiencing low water pressure, rusty yellow water, little to no hot water, or pressure so low that showering is difficult?
Honey, don't flush. I'm in the shower.
These are all symptoms of clogged and corroded galvanized water pipes that are filled with gunk older than you. You should see it. It's disgusting. You drink it, brush your teeth with it, and bathe in it. Yuck. For your family's sake, repipe your home with quality PEX or copper pipes from All Affordable Plumbing. We're your local, family-owned and operated repiping expert. We can repipe your home in 1 to 3 days with minimal disturbance, and we include a lifetime guarantee. And for a limited time, we're offering 12-month no-interest, no-payment financing and a free water heater. So if you have low water pressure, call for a free in-home estimate at 800-NEW-PIPE or visit allaffordable.org. That's 800-NEW-PIPE or visit allaffordable.org. If you have low water pressure, a copper repipe will get you flowing again. Call for a free estimate at 800-NEW-PIPE. That's 800-NEW-PIPE.
Signature Bank is Chicago's fastest growing independently owned business bank. It's a bank where relationships still matter. I'm Dan Proft, and I know this because Signature Bank is my business bank.
Hi, I'm Tony Dreyfus, founder and president of Metropolis Coffee Company and a proud new customer of Signature Bank. We're a 19-year-old specialty coffee roaster located in the heart of Chicago. Some of your favorite restaurants and cafes serve our coffee. As a small business manufacturer, we understand the importance of working with the right bank, and that's why we made the move to Signature Bank. We were tired of the impersonal service that our large bank had provided. A friend referred us to Signature Bank, and their team was on site to understand our operations firsthand. They provided us the working capital to continue our successful business operations and to fuel our ambitions for innovation and growth. We now have the flexibility to grow at our own pace. That personal touch, you can't find that at a large bank, but we found it at Signature, and we can't thank them enough.
Signature Bank helps local businesses succeed. Let Signature Bank turn your business vision into reality. Visit signaturebank.bank. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender. You've heard Rumpke's Garage commercials on AM 560, so you know they specialize in servicing Sprinters and light-duty diesels. But the experts at Rumpke's also service Isuzu and Chevy low-cab forward trucks. So if you own an Isuzu or Chevy low-cab forward truck, but aren't sure where to get it repaired, take it to Rumpke's Garage, your number one dealer alternative for repairs to your Isuzu NPR, Isuzu F-Series, or Chevy low-cab forward truck. Whether gas or diesel, your truck is the lifeline of your business. That's why Remke's Garage offers free loaners while your truck is being serviced. They'll even pick up and deliver for your convenience. Remke's Garage has the factory scan tool to properly diagnose Isuzu and Chevy low-cab forward trucks. Their commitment to your business is backed with a complimentary maintenance plan and free 2-year warranty. So go to Remke'sGarage.com to learn more about their specialization in Isuzu and Chevy low-cab forward trucks and schedule your appointment today. That's Remke's, REMKES, Garage.com.
Eating balance of nature, fruits and veggies, is not replacing the fruits and vegetables in your diet. It is fruits and vegetables in your diet. Ask yourself, how many servings of fruits and vegetables have I eaten today? Have you eaten 1, 2, 3, and from how many varieties? Most people are less than 3. Our body is an amazing chemical laboratory, and when you give it the right chemistry, it functions the best. Balance of Nature is 31 different fruits and vegetables prepared in a way to give you the ultimate whole fruit and vegetable chemistry. Let Balance of Nature help you supplement your fruit and vegetable intake for a lot less money and a lot less work and a much higher quality of life.
Start your journey to better health with Balance of Nature. Go to balanceofnature.com to get 35% off your first preferred order and get this special offer by using discount code CHICAGO.
AM 560, The Answer.
All right, coming up on Chicago's Morning Answer.
We'll talk to Daniel Pipes about President Biden's visit to Israel and the competing claims for blame with respect to that hospital bombing in Gaza. That's at 7:07.
But now let's head into the newsroom. Here's Mike Scott.
A home explodes in DeKalb County, and the city approves demolition for the Thompson Center. WIND Chicago News Time, 7 o'clock.
Israel insists it did not bomb that hospital in Gaza. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News.
The entire world was rightfully outraged, but this outrage should be directed not in Israel, but at the terrorists.
Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu vowing to do what they can in the war against Hamas to avoid civilian casualties as he sat next to President Biden.
And we'll continue to work together to get our hostages out.
We will continue to have Israel's back as you work to defend your people.
Now, the president also said it appears that hospital bombing in Gaza that killed hundreds of Palestinian civilians was done, in his words, by the other team. As Israel provides evidence, it shows it was a Palestinian militant rocket that misfired. Now, Hamas says the U.S. is blindly biased toward Israel, still blaming the bombing on an Israeli airstrike.
The reality is that in the fog of war, emotions often will take over, and despite the evidence that is seen across the Arab world, we do expect more unrest and protests as a result.
Those protests include fires set outside the U.S. Embassy in Beirut, and Fox's Trey Yingst also reports from Israel.
Overnight, yet another anti-tank guided missile was fired into Israeli territory. There is real concern on the ground that Hezbollah, the Lebanese militant group backed by Iran, could get largely involved in this fighting.
Back to the president. Fox's Jackie Heinrich at the White House reports the hospital bombing
derailed the second half of his trip. He was supposed to be going to Jordan to speak with the Jordanian king, the president of the Palestinian Authority, and the Egyptians to try to secure safe passage for civilian Palestinians out of Gaza.
The House will vote for Speaker again. That after Jim Jordan was 17 votes shy, with some Republicans refusing to back him. Congressman Ben Klein tells Fox Business who knows what'll happen.
There are going to be some people who promised to support him on the first ballot who may come off. There are some people who voted protest vote against him on the first ballot who will come on.
America's listening to Fox News.
48 degrees, 7:02 on AM 560. The Answer. Good morning. I'm Mike Scott. A DeKalb County home is destroyed following a massive explosion that sparked a fire. One woman was hospitalized, but the DeKalb County Sheriff says with non-life-threatening injuries. A family was displaced Tuesday evening due to a fire that broke out around 4 p.m. in Hawthorne Woods. Lake Zurich Fire responded to the 10 block of Robin Crest Road. Some members of the Plainfield community gathered last night to remember and honor the life of a 6-year-old Palestinian-American boy killed over the weekend in what prosecutors say was a hate crime.
One of our own here in Plainfield, and he's no longer with us.
due to this tragic murder. My heart goes out to his father, who is present with us, as an uncle, and the whole family, because no parent should ever have to experience this pain.
The mayor talking to several family members in attendance as well. 71-year-old Joseph Chuba allegedly attacked Hanan Shanin with a large blade following an argument about the ongoing conflict in the Middle East. Then, according to prosecutors, stabbed the 6-year-old boy. Shanin is recovering from a dozen stab wounds after Assistant State's Attorney Michael Fitzgerald said in a court filing, Chuba attacked people of Middle Eastern descent, according to court records, for what was going on in Jerusalem. A delegation of Chicago local leaders making the trip to the southern border. And today, their first stop is El Paso. Laura Cruz Acosta is the communications director for the city of El Paso.
So federal policy did change a couple of weeks ago, and so that's why you're seeing this decline, this dip in the numbers.
John Martin, deputy director for the Opportunity Center for the Homeless in El Paso, says large numbers they've been putting on buses want to come to Chicago.
We do have a large number of individuals as well as families that do have a desire to go that direction, along with New York and Denver. Those seem to be the top three at this point.
The delegation of local leaders will take a tour of the southern border as well as meeting with local authorities. Chicago sports. Bulls fell to the Raptors in the NBA preseason, 106-102. Phillies beat Arizona 10-0, 2 Kyle Schwarber home runs. D-backs will host Game 3 in that series on Thursday. The news, a service of In Grace with Jim Scudder Jr., now heard on Sunday morning at 6:30 on AM 560. And a check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
This is Hugh Hewitt for townhall.com. Anyone with eyes to see or ears to hear is familiar with episodes of horrific violence over the past few decades. Evil people commit unspeakable crimes against humanity with horrifying regularity. But Hamas's slaughter in Israel feels different in its intensity and immediacy. The chilling and methodical depravity that stalked infants and the very old, as well as young people joyfully dancing at a music festival, was profoundly disturbing because it was so purposeful and purposeless. An army of mass murderers rampaged in search of victims targeted solely because they were Jews. No military objective, no strategic aim. An army of anti-Semitic sadists was loosed on the Holy Land, and the consequences have stunned and sickened the civilized world. We have no excuse now to indulge in the belief that the Nazi trials at Nuremberg offered a final and binding judgment that all nations would respect. They manifestly did not. Israel will attempt to do so now, and I hope it is with the full support of the United States.
All right, Christmas will be here before we know it. If you're looking for a really special gift, I encourage you to check out the firearms made right here in America by our great friends at Henry Repeating Arms. Now, you start by going to their website, henryusa.com, order their free holiday gift guide, and they'll mail it with free decals that you can use for stocking stuffers. Perfect timing. Folks, when you give someone a Henry, you're giving them a work of art that is built with the finest craftsmanship I've ever seen as a collector. Now, their performance is top-notch. Mine were accurate, all of them, right out of the box. They shoot smooth and straight, and they have been reliable ever since. They have over 200 models of rifles and shotguns and revolvers to choose from. One of the things I like the most about these firearms, they're family heirlooms. They'll always be backed by the company's lifetime warranty. So if you want to put something that's made in America under the tree this Christmas, henryusa.com. Get their free gift guide and their decals today. That's henryusa.com. You will love this company.
Don't defund the police. Hire the police to protect your business. Rising crime has been crippling business owners in Illinois more and more in the past year. Blue Star Security can protect your most valuable asset, your business, to protect both you and your customers. Blue Star Security is the only security company in Chicago with over 500 off-duty police officers, all W-2 employees.
I'm Anthony Barchetto, president of Blue Star Security and a 20-year law enforcement veteran. Our team is exclusively state-certified active and retired law enforcement professionals who provide the highest standards in security. We serve Fortune 500 companies, as well as small businesses and individuals, responding rapidly and seamlessly to each assignment. Blue Star Security's technology allows mobilization of off-duty officers quickly and efficiently. Our primary mission is to provide provide unparalleled protective services for each assignment with integrity while maintaining our commitment to community service in the Chicagoland area.
Visit online to schedule a free security consultation at BlueStarSecurityLTD.com. That's BlueStarSecurityLTD.com.
7:07. Let's get an update on the roads. Team Hochberg Traffic Center time. Inbound Edens is 36 minutes in from Lake Cook Road. The Kennedy, an hour and 10 from O'Hare into the Burns Circle interchange. Kennedy outbound 42 back out to the big airport. An hour 4 on the inbound Ike commute from 390 into the old post office. Major jam up North Avenue to the Tri-State. Dan Ryan inbound 32, 95th into the Burns Circle interchange. Through the roadwork zone on DuSable Lakeshore Drive, you've got big jams northbound between Hayes and 47th. The Reagan slowing up. The toll road I-88 slows up right at York Road. Lombard an accident, North Avenue and Swift. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next. AM 560 Weather Center forecast with Steve Williams.
Today pleasant, partly sunny, breezy, and a high today 68. Partly cloudy, couple of showers mainly early tonight, low 54. Clouds and showers tomorrow, the high 61. Partly sunny, a shower in spots on Friday, the high at 62. I'm Steve Williams on AM 560, The Answer.
48 at O'Hare, 48 along Chicago's lakefront. Your next news update, 7:30. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
This hourly segment is sponsored by Protecting Your Assets with Steve Shyman. Listen Saturday mornings at 8. Learn more at willsave.com.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560. The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. So the finger pointing over the bombing of this Baptist hospital in Gaza where hundreds were killed yesterday. Of course, the Palestinians are blaming Israeli Defense Forces. But it turns out, based on the reporting, seems to be pretty accurate. For example, Jordan Schachtel reporting, 1 minute before a rocket blew up a hospital in Gaza, Hamas announced on Telegram they were launching their most robust weapons in the arsenal at Haifa. No rockets reach Haifa. High probability these hit the hospital and set off secondary explosions within the building. He went on to say there is zero evidence of an Israeli airstrike on the hospital, but videos are surfacing of sustained rocket fire coming out of Gaza at the same time that hospital blew up. So much more likely, based on the evidence, that this was a rocket that was misfired by the Islamic Jihad and not Israeli Defense Forces.
And if you looked at the trajectory of the missiles, it said it was a misfire and it landed on the hospital. And the IDF and Benjamin Netanyahu's senior advisor says we don't target hospitals, never had, never will.
Israel does not target places like hospitals. They're not a target for us, and we wouldn't have deliberately hit a hospital. Number two, we know that at the time of this tragedy, that Hamas was firing a barrage of rockets at Tel Aviv. Up to a third of rockets fired from Gaza fall inside the Gaza Strip because they malfunction. It is possible that this was one of those rockets that malfunctioned.
Interesting piece, just to give some context of what we're talking about for people that haven't been there and have a difficult time perhaps understanding the dynamic at play here. I'm talking about pre-attack. A piece over at the Free Press, which is Barry Weiss's outlet, by a guy named Jacob Katz, who served in the IDF and was on patrol outside of Gaza back in 2018, 2019. Now, as a 25-year-old, he's gone back. He just offered some observations, some anecdotes, and sort of some open-ended questions. He talked about, well, one anecdote, just to give you a sense of what the dynamic is on a routine basis. I vividly remember a woman in a burqa walking toward the fence where he was standing guard, carrying what looked like a grenade in her fist, her arm extended from her body. She must have been 150 feet away when my commander launched one of the canisters, tear gas. As the clouds of gas began to rise from the ground, she collapsed as others came to her aid. I later saw a group of 4 or 5 small kids kicking around a used tear gas canister as it fizzled out, as if it were a soccer ball. These kids couldn't have been older than 8, and their clothes hung on their small bodies like they were recent hand-me-downs from older siblings. I wondered what my life would have been like if I had been born on the other side of the fence. Would I have agreed with those who told me to wish for the death of another people? As Israel prepares for a potential ground invasion of Gaza, I think of those kids, and I hope they were able to flee, but I also wonder what role they now play today, as they're probably 13 or 14. How long does it take for those who were used as pawns to become the people moving the pieces? For more on all of this, we're pleased to be joined by Daniel Pipes, who's the president of the Middle East Forum. Daniel Pipes, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Thanks for inviting me.
What about that that soldier's perspective? And, you know, he goes on to say, you know, obviously we need to protect the border. I'm not ashamed of the time I served, and he's going back to serve, so that sort of speaks to it. But he said, I do want to live in a world where 19-year-old Israelis don't need to fire tear gas at 8-year-old Palestinians. Is that possible?
I think it is. I think, in particular, Gazans, as opposed to people living on the West Bank, Gazans have gone through an extraordinary experience the last 15 years. They've been used as cannon fodder. Not the usual kind of cannon fodder. Think of a Wagner group using prison recruits in Bakhmut. That's the normal, if one can say it. In Gaza, Hamas has used its population as victims. It time and again, now for 15 years, it has attacked Israel not to defeat Israel on the military battlefield, but to get bombs, destruction, and death in return. So Gaza, the Hamas leaders can say, look, we're the victims. We've been killed. And there'll be protests around the world. The Iranian government will say, hooray. The far left will say, oh, these are the poor victims. And it works. I mean, look what just happened. Hamas engaged in a massacre of some 1,300 Israelis. And the Islamists and the left are now talking about Israeli violence. So that's the background. The foreground is that Gazans are sick of this. They're increasingly not wanting to be used as victims by Hamas. And I think there is a turn in the Gazan population. And should the Israelis engage in the ground war, and should the Israelis get rid of Hamas, I'm optimistic that the Israelis can find a good number of Gazans who will work with them and build a decent administration. Not necessarily a democratic one, certainly not a Zionist one, but a decent one. So I am hopeful that out of this horror and carnage can come something good for Gaza in the long term.
What about President Biden's visit? Do you think that that's just delaying the ground war that's imminent?
I think it's a two-edged sword. On the one hand, it is remarkable that he has gone so quickly to Israel in a sign of solidarity. Mm-hmm. On the other hand, going there gives him even more leverage over the Israelis to say, you may do this, you may not do that. And I think the Israelis are a bit nervous about, they appreciate the first point, and they're a bit nervous about the second one.
Well, sure. I mean,
yeah,
we've
does
got.
He want their war plan?
Well, also too the regional dynamic here. You have King Abdullah in Jordan saying Palestinian migrants aren't coming to Jordan or to Egypt. You have the U.S. evacuating its embassy in Lebanon. You have attempts to storm the Israeli embassy in Amman. And then you have the prospect of Hezbollah fully engaging in response to a ground invasion in Gaza. I mean, how do you see this playing out in the near term?
I'm inclined to see this as a series of events that are aggravating what's known as the Arab Street, the general population, attacking embassies also in Ankara, Turkey, and the like. On the other hand, I think the leaderships, whether it's of governments or an organization, a large organization, a quasi-governmental organization like Hezbollah, I think they're wary. I don't think Hezbollah wants to take on a very angry Israel at this point. So I'm inclined to think that Hezbollah will stay out. And I'm inclined to think that the street protests will not have that much significance. And the real key issue will be Gaza itself. How effective are the Israelis? How many Israeli deaths will there be? How many Gazan deaths will there be? How well will they take out the Hamas leadership? And what will follow? The news is that the Israelis it just came out that the war cabinet in Israel has said, we're not thinking about the day after. We just want to win this war. But I don't think that's really the case. I have private information that the Israelis are indeed thinking about the day after, as they must. It's very, very important. You can win the battle on the ground and then lose the war because, as effectively we did in Iraq and Afghanistan, because you didn't plan enough about the day after.
And so what does the day after look like?
Well, as I suggested before, I think it should be the Israelis working with decent Gazans, but there are many other ideas. One of them, perhaps the most prominent, is that the Israelis invite in the Palestinian Authority, the nominal ruler of the West Bank, to take over in Gaza. But there are two big problems there. One is it doesn't have any power, and two, it's almost as bad as Hamas. So,
well, right. Well, but I mean, no, I hear what you're saying, but I mean, I guess that's the question is like, and from a perspective of feasibility, what is some sort of joint governance between Israelis and Gazans actually look like? How would that be possible?
Well, it is certainly possible for the occupying power to hand over the keys and say, look, we'll give you some money, we'll give you some military backing, and you build on that to develop an administration that deals with, in the first place, security, and then with utilities, and with education, and health, and so forth. But security is the very first requirement. That, by the way, is what we did not do in Iraq. We disbanded the Iraqi military and did not replace it, and so there was chaos for years and years. Got to have security. So I think it's possible. I think there are plenty of Gazans ready to work with Israel and to run their little piece of land. By the way, Gaza is exactly the same size as the city of Omaha, Nebraska. It's pretty small.
Yeah, and millions of people. But what is Iran's role in all of this? And will they have a say in what happens to it?
The Iranians are the mobilizers. They provide money, they provide arms, they provide ideology, they provide spiritual backing, but they're not the only ones. Qatar, which is a quasi-ally. I mean, it is formally a major non-NATO ally of the United States. Qatar provides money and inspiration as well. So, Iran is now an enemy, and there's limited things we can do there. But Qatar, it's appalling to see how integrated Qatar is into our economy and our politics.
Our educational system.
Exactly. When they are not just backers of Hamas, but of the Islamists, the jihadis in many countries.
The Palestinian refugee issue that I mentioned, what would your advice and counsel be to the West in terms of how to handle that and how to perhaps encourage King Abdullah in Jordan to change his perspective on it?
By Palestine refugee, you mean the Gazans today?
Yeah.
Or the historic?
No, the Gazans that flee before the bombing starts and the ground invasion starts. Yes, those that have been told to get out.
Well, I don't think Abdullah of Jordan is the key figure. It's Abdel Fattah Sisi.
Right, in Egypt.
Is the key
Right.
figure. Because Gaza borders on Egypt. And the Egyptians have been loath to allow in Gazans. I think there are ideas floating around that the Gazans can reestablish their lives nearby in Sinai, in part of Egypt. I think that's not going to happen. That's absolutely unacceptable to Sisi and more broadly to the Egyptians. Temporary refuge, yes, and they should be pressured to allow the Gazans in, but long-term solution, no, they simply will not allow that. So the Gazans will have to return to Gaza, however wrecked it is, and rebuild, and hopefully not with Hamas as their overlords. And by the way, Hamas is not really a Palestinian nationalist movement, it's an Islamist movement. In contrast to the PLO and Palestinian Authority that have Palestine in their name, Hamas does not. It's an Islamic movement, and it's not particularly concerned about Palestinians or Palestine. It's quite willing to use them, as I said before, cannon fodder. They're there to be exploited for the larger mission, which is establishing an Islamic rule over what they call Palestine.
Now, 30 Americans have been killed. 14 are still being held hostage, along with about 180 others. What do you see happening with that? I mean, there's been some offers, Hamas saying, stop bombing us and we'll give you your hostages back, but I don't know if that holds any water.
That's the one side. The other side is the Israelis are saying, we're not going to let anything in, though they have allowed water, until you release the hostages. So it's the usual kind of tense negotiating between the hostage takers and the government that's trying to get them back. I think the Israelis face some very, very difficult decisions ahead because the Hamas is likely to say, you do this, we'll kill one, you do that, we'll kill another. It's an agonizing decision for any government. I expect that the Israelis will proceed. They will not allow the hostage situation to blunt their efforts to get rid of Hamas.
Well, and in terms of supplies and so forth, when Hamas can pillage the United Nations Relief and Works Agency, I guess they don't need supplies to be allowed in.
Well, they do. The Egyptians could allow in fuel, food, medicine, and water, but they're not. And the Israelis have been doing that now for years. It's a bizarre situation. For example, electricity. The Israelis have effectively supplied electricity to Gaza for years for free to their enemy.
Yes, it's odd to underrate your enemy. No, but I mean, I was being a bit facetious, but I'm just talking about this incident where trucks purporting to be from the Ministry of Health of the de facto authorities in Gaza removed fuel and medical equipment from this United Nations Relief Works Agency, which the United States primarily funds. So now we're essentially primarily funding the supply chain that Hamas has created by pillaging this UN agency. And so it's just more of this sort of, as you were sort of getting to, the contradiction in application here. You're cutting out on us. Can't hear you. Hello?
Sorry, I lost you right there.
Oh yeah.
A second. I was saying that I think one of the benefits of this horror, one of the things that come out of the good things that come out of this horror, is that Israelis have learned that enriching Gazans will not blunt the hostility towards Israel.
Daniel Pipes is the president of the Middle East Forum. Daniel Pipes, thanks so much for joining us. Appreciate it.
Thanks for the invitation. Bye.
Bye. And he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
This is Chicago's Morning Answer.
Your show keeps me alive during the week. There's nobody I'd rather listen to between 5 and 9 in the morning than you guys.
On AM 560, The Answer.
Signature Bank is Chicago's fastest growing independently owned business bank, a bank where relationships still matter. I'm Dan Proft, and I know this because Signature Bank is my business bank.
Hey all, Jim Carr here. I am the owner of Carr Machine and Tool in Elk Grove Village and loyal customer of Signature Bank. As a second-generation owner, I knew I had to shift from operating as an old-school machine shop to what I can proudly say is now one of the fastest-growing aerospace manufacturing facilities in the region. Signature Bank was there every step of the way through our expansion efforts, including financing our new state-of-the-art facility. Their valuable industry expertise and constant communication throughout the construction process made our vision possible. Many thanks to Signature Bank for supporting Carr Machine and Tool. You set the bar high for other banks.
Signature Bank helps local businesses succeed. Want to learn how Signature Bank can help turn your business vision into reality? Visit signaturebank.bank. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
All right. Excuse me. Love to do it every day. Take Balance of Nature. Why? Not getting enough fruits and veggies on my own, and that's where Balance of Nature comes in. 31 different fruits and veggies, and I love it. And people who take it say they have more energy. It gives them the ability to keep doing what they love even as they age. So get on it. Get the nutrition your body needs. Get Balance of Nature. 800-246-8751. That's the number to call. 800-246-8751. Use discount code Chicago or go online to balanceofnature.com. Discount code Chicago.
Guys, a lot of people talking about testosterone, but do your homework and be sure to visit a provider you can trust. I trust my friends at Low T Center, where I've been getting my levels checked for the past 8 years. At Low T Center, they make it easy. You walk in, take a simple blood test, and with their on-site lab, you get your results back in about 25 minutes. If you've been feeling tired, grumpy, notice weight gain, and loss of muscle mass, these could be signs of low testosterone levels. Low T Center is not your typical doctor's office where you have a long wait. It's concierge medicine exclusively for men. They have affordable and convenient options for treatment, including physician-monitored self-inject treatment that ships directly to you each month, so there's no need to drive to the center for weekly visits. And right now, Low T Center is only $25 to get your T level tested, with results back in about 25 minutes. So what are you waiting for? Log on now to lowtcenter.com to book your appointment online. That's lowtcenter.com. Tell them Dan Proft sent you when you do it. Low T Center, reinventing men's healthcare.
AM 560, The Answer.
All right, coming up on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Nobel laureate Paul Krugman says, yeah, inflation is over if you just exclude most of what people buy. We'll start there with Steve Moore at 7:37.
That sounds right. But now let's head into the newsroom. Here's Mike Scott.
Dan and Amy, 48 degrees at 7:31. And President Biden says it appears the deadly explosion at a hospital in Gaza was not the work of Israeli forces.
I'm deeply saddened and outraged by the explosion at the hospital in Gaza yesterday. And based on what I've seen, it appears as though it was done by the other team, not you.
Biden made the comment shortly after arriving in Israel and speaking with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. Because of the blast, the president is no longer scheduled to travel to Jordan to meet with Arab leaders today. German Chancellor Olaf Scholz has just met reporters and condemned twin firebomb attacks on a synagogue in Berlin. The number of anti-Semitic incidents in the German capital has been hugely on the rise since the escalation in the Middle East. Police also say there were riots overnight between Muslim immigrants and police in 2 German neighborhoods in which several police officers were badly hurt. The U.S. is providing Ukraine with long-range missiles. Confirmation comes after Ukrainian forces attacked 2 air bases in Russian-held territory on Tuesday. The next vote for Speaker of the House will be this morning. After Ohio Congressman Jim Jordan failed to get a majority, Congressman Kevin McCarthy of California went through the same process, he says, before he was elected Speaker.
So now we had a vote on the floor. It didn't get to the whole point. Now we'll take a break, talk to people, and come back and solve it.
Republican Florida Congressman Carlos Jimenez voted against Jordan, and has not changed his mind during weeks of negotiations after Speaker McCarthy was removed.
I'm going to do what I think is right, and I'll live with the consequences of that. So far, it's worked out for me. Maybe this one doesn't work out for me, but I still think that's the right thing to do, and I'm sticking to my principles. I know who I'm voting for, and it's Kevin McCarthy.
Jordan says he has no plans of dropping out of the Speaker's battle. A DeKalb County home is destroyed following a massive explosion that sparked a fire in Earlville. One woman hospitalized with non-life-threatening injuries. Some members of the Plainfield community gathered last night to remember and honor the life of a 6-year-old Palestinian-American boy killed over the weekend in what prosecutors say was a hate crime.
One of our own here in Plainfield, and he's no longer with us due to this tragic murder. My heart goes out to his father, who is present with us, as an uncle, and the whole family, because no parent should ever have to experience this pain.
The mayor talking to several family members who were in attendance as well. 71-year-old Joseph Chuba allegedly attacked Hanan Shanin and the boy with a large blade following an argument about the ongoing conflict in the Middle East. The mother is recovering from a dozen stab wounds. The boy later died. Assistant State's Attorney Michael Fitzgerald said in a court filing, Chuba was angry at the family for what was going on in Jerusalem, fearing he would be attacked by people of Middle Eastern descent. That according to court records. A delegation of local leaders from Chicago is making the trip to the southern border. Their first stop is El Paso, Texas today. The delegation will also tour the southern border. Chicago police sent out a community alert about 8 fires, many of which targeted Halloween decorations that they believe may be the work of a possible serial arsonist. All 8 fires between October 4 and 16 near the neighborhoods of Lincoln Square and North Center. After the largest Bank of America Chicago Marathon saw records broken and its 1 millionth finisher, runners are apparently already racing to secure a spot in next year's race. Applications for the 2024 Bank of America Chicago Marathon officially opened Tuesday. Applications close in a month. Chicago sports. Bulls wrap up the preseason with a home game against the Timberwolves tomorrow night after last night's 106-102 loss to Toronto. Phillies are just running away from the Diamondbacks in the NLCS, winning 10-0 last night. Kyle Schwarber with 2 more monster home runs in the Phillies win. The news, a service of MyPillow, and the 6-pack bath towel sets are back in stock with proprietary technology that makes them extremely absorbent, yet provides that soft feel you look for in a towel. For a limited time, 50% savings with promo code Liberty. A check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
This is Hugh Hewitt for townhall.com. Anyone with eyes to see or ears to hear is familiar with episodes of horrific violence over the past few decades. Evil people commit unspeakable crimes against humanity with horrifying regularity. But Hamas's slaughter in Israel feels different in its intensity and immediacy. The chilling and methodical depravity that stalked infants and the very old, as well as young people joyfully dancing at a music festival, was profoundly disturbing because it was so purposeful and purposeless. An army of mass murderers rampaged in search of victims targeted solely because they were Jews. No military objective, no strategic aim. An army of anti-Semitic sadists was loosed on the Holy Land, and the consequences have stunned and sickened the civilized world. We have no excuse now to indulge in the belief that the Nazi trials at Nuremberg offered a final and binding judgment that all nations would respect. They manifestly did not. Israel will attempt to do so now, and I hope it is with the full support of the United States.
Did you know most vitamin supplements have a warning label on the back? That's because without the synergy of thousands of nutrients working together that are found naturally in whole fruits and vegetables, vitamins are not balanced. This is why Balance of Nature only uses whole fruits and vegetables, no isolates or synthetic vitamins of any kind. We take a variety of 31 of the highest quality fruits and vegetables and remove the water without changing the rich chemistry. It's then ground to a powder, blended to perfection, and encapsulated, preserving the nutrients and making it easy to get the fruits and vegetables you need. So even though Balance of Nature comes in a capsule and looks like a vitamin, it's very different. Start your journey to better health with Balance of Nature. Go to balanceofnature.com to get 35% off your first preferred order and get this special offer by using discount code Chicago.
Dan Proft here for Northridge Prep. Northridge Prep is a great place to be a boy. What does that mean exactly? In short, it's thanks to a foundation of an all-boys environment that builds your son up into a man of intellect and character who loves God. The teachers and faculty members become mentors to students. And when you combine that with an atmosphere that's fun, competitive, and challenging, it creates an exceptional experience for your son. And the result is that the boys just love Northridge. They've been educating boys for nearly 50 years. And one of the things that stands out to me is their commitment to partnering with parents. Now, you hear this a lot with schools, but at Northridge, the parents can't stop talking about it. They built a community that really works together. Raising kids is difficult these days, and at Northridge, you can be confident your son is on the right path. They're having an open house on Sunday, October 22nd, for boys in grades 6 through 12. Register today at northridgeprep.org. Again, that open house is Sunday, October 22nd. Register at northridgeprep.org.
Think O'Reilly Auto Parts for all your car care needs. Get the parts and service you need fast from the professional parts people at O'Reilly Auto Parts.
7:38 Team Hochberg Traffic Center time, a service of Advanced Design Studio. Thinking of a home renovation but aren't sure where to begin? You can check out Common Sense Remodeling with Advanced Design Studio. Online, advanceddesignstudio.com. We'll start on the Kennedy. It's an hour 20 from O'Hare to the Burns Circle interchange. Eichen, it's an hour 16 from 390 into the old post office. Stevenson, an hour 11 from 355 into DuSable Lakeshore Drive. Dan Ryan, 33 in, 95th into the Burns Circle. DuSable Lakeshore Drive on the south end. Delays in the construction zone. And right now, southbound between Foster and North Avenue, you have delays developing. Jane Addams, accident, 2 right lanes blocked. Eastbound I-90 between the Elgin Toll and Route 59. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next. AM 560 Weather Center forecast. We'll have partial sunshine through the morning, breezy and more clouds through the afternoon, high 68. Partly cloudy with a couple of showers developing overnight, a low of 54. It's 48 right now. Next news coming up at 8, and Chicago's Morning Answer continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. So Jim Jordan tries again this morning to cobble together the 217 he needs, falling 20 votes short. Or falling 17 votes short
20,
yesterday? 20 votes short.
20.
That was down from 55 initially when he was nominated, so they're making progress. But the question is, can he get over the hump with moderates who are in districts that Biden won and a little jumpy, and people that have a bad taste in their mouth as to how the House Republicans got to this place, the deposing of Kevin McCarthy that was led by Matt Gaetz. Can he do that, or are we going to have to do some sort of deal to expand the powers of Patrick, give me McLiberty or give me McDeath, McHenry? I don't know.
It's
But,
a little old.
If spending is the issue, why, I said this from the beginning, why not come around and unify around a vision for spending? The old Tabor, the old penny plan that has been bouncing around D.C., and with Tabor, Taxpayer Bill of Rights, the capping spending such that it cannot grow at the inflation or population growth, whichever is lower on an annualized basis, that proved pretty successful for Bill Owens back in the day when he was governor of Colorado, and other reform-minded governors who pursued
that's those sort of real spending caps. Maybe that's something that Republicans could resuscitate and rally around, moderates and hardliners alike. But that's not where we're at. So how do we get to the place they need to be? For more on this, Steve Moore, economist, GovZilla author, joins us. Steve, thanks for being with us. Appreciate it.
Good morning, guys.
So tell us how this plays out with the House Republicans as it seems to get more and more absurd with each passing day.
The hell if I know.
Yeah.
I mean, this is just a certain. You know, we have a cartoon in our hotline today. It just shows all the members of the House, on the House floor, while wearing clown outfits because they're looking like a bunch of clowns right now. The latest, Dan and Amy, and this is going to make you sick. At least makes me sick. Is that the only way that it looks like the Republicans can get these 4 or 5 or 6 House Republicans from New York is to bring back this state and local tax deduction, which basically subsidizes high taxes in states like Illinois. Now, some of your listeners may like this idea because you guys are in Illinois where you have very high taxes, but it's a crazy policy because it just rewards politicians in New York and New Jersey and California and Illinois to keep raising their taxes because then the federal government will pick up the tab for that, or at least a share of it. By the way, this would be the biggest tax cut for rich people in the history of the United States. Gee, I didn't think, that the liberals wanted tax cuts for the rich, but they do when it's their own, millionaires and billionaires. So is that detestable that they said, well, we'll only vote for a Republican for speaker if they bring back this crazy tax deduction? That's how crazy things have become in Washington right now. The latest I'm hearing is that my friend Jim Jordan, who I think would be an exceptional speaker, I love Jim Jordan. I like Steve Scalise a lot, too. I thought he would be a great speaker. It looks like Jordan will not have the votes today to get to 217. And it looks like, I think you said it well, Dan, that Patrick McHenry, who's, I've known Patrick for years. In fact, I helped elect him in his first race. He's from North Carolina. Good guy, but, he's not a superstar. And so he won't be, a star. Now, the other point you made was about this out of control spending. And it's going to go up, folks. The debt is going to go up even further. Now we're going to have to spend tens and tens of billions, maybe hundreds of billions of dollars on this war that's erupting in the Middle East. Thanks, Joe Biden, for an idiotic energy policy that took the money away from our domestic producers and gave it to Hamas and the terrorists. That's how they've been funded. So none of this makes sense. And then the Fed is going to have to figure out, gee, with the deficit going way up, are we going to have to raise interest rates again? It's a ugly situation.
And 3 weeks from now, you've got the prospect of another shutdown theater episode, or going to an omnibus deal. I mean, so it's just, again, the posture of Matt Gaetz and company with respect to unleashing all of this. There should be
bad play.
Yeah, it's a terrible play, right? Terrible play.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know. I'm just very frustrated with the whole thing because this is a tumultuous time and a dangerous time for the country. And we don't have a leader. We don't have a president. Let's face it. We don't really have a president. And so, it's very frustrating to me. And we've made a lot of bad decisions as a country. And we got to stop this. And you're right, Dan. I love the idea, but let's put a hard spending cap on. If we just went back to the amount of money we were spending before COVID, we could balance the damn budget. But we're $2 trillion away from that. And what they did, just so your listeners understand, is they spent all this money during COVID, for the crisis. And they said, well, we want to keep spending this money.
Well, right. I mean, the whole point here is to keep this thing on autopilot. And if you can have House Republicans abdicating control of the chamber they control, then it makes it that much easier. I don't understand why there's not some public calling out that, Gaetz, yes, I'm calling out. I mean, and maybe this is the play Jordan should make. I offered this up as a suggestion for McCarthy back in the day. Look, Gaetz, that we shouldn't have got to this place. I supported McCarthy. We're here now. So I'll support McCarthy again,
Or here's the thing: Gates and company, you have got to come to the table, and Jimenez and company, you've got to come to the table, and let's rally around reining in runaway spending with something like the penny plan or something like a federal Tabor, and let's focus on that, and let's challenge the American people. We're unified around these big ideas, and if you want these big ideas to be advanced, you need to change out the leadership of the Senate and the presidency, and that's what we're focused on. We're focused on this framework and going forward.
You are so naive, Dan. You seem to be under the impression that Republicans want to cut spending. They don't.
I know, but
I don't want to burst anybody's bubble.
but
Republicans are just as bad as the Democrats on this stuff. They want to spend money. They don't want to cut the budget. I could probably count on my fingers and my toes the number of Republicans who actually want to cut government spending. And I look, I don't want to ruin people's day. I know, Republicans are so fiscally responsible. No, they're not.
I know. I think certainly most of our listeners understand this. I mean, we've seen Republicans in Illinois and how they behave, so we get it. But the point.
Maybe Amy could tell us how we can get.
Well, but wait a second. The point is, everybody pretends to be a fiscal conservative.
Right.
So if you make it public rather than allowing them to murmur it behind closed doors, if you make it public, then at least there's some accountability. You're on the record, and it's something that everybody takes as a rhetorical position, and then you're sort of compel unification, even if it's somewhat phony.
Good. Yeah, I agree with that. I'm just saying I wouldn't hold my breath and think we're going to have a wonderful outcome here.
No, I'm not.
Well, how long is this madness going to go on?
Yeah.
Until Hakeem Jeffries is speaker.
Right. I mean, is that the end game? My God, they got to get it together.
I honestly don't know. I think Dan was probably right that we're going to end up with the kind of the least common denominator here, and that is the fellow from North Carolina who is, he's not a superstar. Let's put it like that. And but look, you got to get a new president. I'd like to see a Republican really talk about cutting government spending. I love Donald Trump. I worked for Donald Trump. I think he was a great president. But I'll be honest with you, Trump doesn't want to cut spending. And now I had dinner last night, guys, with Doug Burgum, the North Dakota senator.
Yeah,
this guy wants to cut spending. He did it. He cut 27% out of the budget in North Dakota because he's a businessman. He knows how to trim budgets. The whole ethic is wrong in Washington right now. Every incentive is just to spend and spend and spend money. And Republicans want to spend more money on defense. They want to give all this money to Ukraine. Now, I know people listening to the show have very different opinions about whether that's the right thing or wrong thing to do. I'm against it, but I don't know what your guys' position is. But if we're going to give money to Ukraine, and if we're going to spend more money on Israel, then let's cut somewhere else.
I wanted to turn to some good news, and the good news is that, good news. I mean, from Nobel laureate, you don't have a Nobel Prize, Paul Krugman does, and Paul Krugman says basically, if you exclude the things people actually buy, inflation's over. So that's
like
good
all
news.
The food and gas and all that,
groceries, so forth.
Yeah. It's a great story. We had this in our hotline the other day where Krugman said, "Oh, we've won the war against inflation. If you exclude, mortgages, rents, food, electricity, your gas prices, everything else is stable in price, And as Amy, we've talked about this week after week. You just go to the grocery store and you see what things cost for ground beef or eggs or milk or Cocoa Krispies, and you see, that things are about twice as expensive as they were 4 years ago.
But I always thought that there was a correlation between gas prices and the products we buy. Gas prices have gone down here a lot, and it is not reflective in the grocery store yet.
Yeah, well,
I can't leave without spending at least $150, and I used to spend when my kids were home it was $400.
So I don't want to ruin your morning, Amy, but it looks like my prediction is because of what's going on in the Middle East right now, and you're going to start to see some of these oil fields getting bombed and things like that the price of oil is going to go back up to $100 a barrel. Then we're back at $5 a gallon gas. And, so it's so crazy because, you go back to when Trump was president and we didn't have these problems. Whether you like Trump or not, he was tough on Iran. He wasn't We've put $40 billion into the hands of the Iranians by not producing more oil and gas here. $40 billion. How much of that money do you think went to Hamas?
Yeah, I want to just on the issue of inflation, though, too. You remember that guy from back in the day? He ran for governor of New York. He wore gloves for some reason. His name was Jimmy McMillan. He was the representative of the Rent is Too Damn High party.
Rent, it's too damn high.
That guy. This report out. 55% of households in the Big Apple in New York City spend a majority of their income on rent. I mean, yeah.
I believe it.
I mean, that's just
55%. Yeah.
Yeah. Spend half their income on rent.
It's not going to get better. It's going to get worse. I mean, mortgage rates are now running 7.5%. They were 3% under Trump. That means, that you're going to probably pay, rather than say $2,000 a month in mortgage payments, you're going to pay $3,500 a month. By the way, Amy, these kinds of things aren't really figured into the inflation numbers. That's why people are so angry. I mean, people are financially stressed out. They're angry because they feel like the government is lying to us. And we borrowed so much money. Now we have a crisis in Israel. We've got the prices. We got China might move on Taiwan. It's a dangerous world, and we need a leader in this country. We don't have a leader. I mean, it's embarrassing to watch Biden in Israel. I mean, it's just he's hardly able to get a sentence out. Gavin Newsom. Gavin Newsom will be our savior.
Gavin, that Gavin Newsom, Ron DeSantis debate is coming up.
Man crush on him.
Yeah. By the way, I read that slightly wrong. It's a third of New York City households spend more than 50%, but 55% are quote unquote rent burden, meaning they spend more than 30% of their income on rent. I mean, that's just unsustainable. And think about these upwardly mobile professionals and white collar jobs that are saving zero because they're paying $6,000 in rent for 800 square feet. It's just
it's happening all over the country. I mean, it's and even in the Chicagoland area, you're probably seeing a lot of people in that same situation.
No question.
And you know why, by the way? Because of government restrictions on building new homes and building new apartments. So, isn't it interesting? The government is at the root of almost every one of these problems.
Well, of course, rent control in New York, of course, the classic. Steve Moore, economist, GovZilla author. Thanks, Steve. Appreciate it.
Maybe I could be the Speaker of the House. You don't have to
go advocate for yourself.
Maybe Dad could be.
Throw your hat in the ring. Get over there. Get over to the Capitol right now.
All right, guys, have a great day.
Thanks, you too. And he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
Or you see it on TV, share it on Facebook, or read about it in the paper. Hear it here first. This is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
By the Hand Club for Kids exists to help children who live in under-resourced neighborhoods have abundant life. God is transforming our city through By the Hand. I know this for a fact because I am a student at By the Hand, and my life has been drastically changed as a result of it. Learn more at salem.bythehand.org. That's salem.bythehand.org.
All right, gonna do it soon. Take Balance of Nature. Why? Not getting enough fruits and vegetables on your own. Ask yourself that question. What did you have yesterday? Did you have any fruits? Did you have any vegetables? You're supposed to have 4 servings, or 4 to 5 servings a day, and it's not cutting it for a lot of Americans. And that's why many of us, tens of thousands of us, are taking Balance of Nature. 31 whole fruits and vegetables, no preservatives, no dyes. What they do, they take the fruits and veggies, and they're powdered after an advanced vacuum cold process, which stabilizes the maximum nutrient content. And when you give your body the best possible fuel, you have more energy, you're stronger, and you think more quickly. So remember this number and call it 800-246-8751, 800-246-8751. Use discount code Chicago. First-timers get free shipping and 35% off their first preferred order of fruits and veggies, or simply go online to balanceofnature.com, discount code Chicago.
A message brought to you by Paul Davis Restoration of North Chicago.
It's a beautiful summer day in the Midwest. No clouds in sight, but on the horizon we spot trouble.
Oh no! I just received a call from my condo building manager, and 3 floors burned in a fire last night. My unit was severely damaged from soot and smoke. Now what do I do? Who do I call?
You call Paul Davis Restoration. Nobody expects to experience an insurance loss. The truth is, fires, floods, tornadoes, hail, and just plain bad things happen to over 1 million homeowners annually. You could be one of them. Whether you face a business or residential catastrophe, Paul Davis Restoration is ready to help you from the instant the fire is out, the tornado has passed through, or the floodwaters have receded. We have a 25,000 square foot warehouse within minutes of the Chicago Loop and can pack out clean, restore your items, and return them to you in record time. Visit Paul Davis Restoration online at pauldavischicago.com or call 773-883-8000. That's 773-883-8000 or online at pauldavischicago.com. That's pauldavischicago.com or call 773-883-8000 or online at pauldavischicago.com.
Is life sciences your lifetime passion? If so, you could have the career of a lifetime. Automated Systems is searching for you. If you have experience in any of the following areas: industrial automation, PLC, HMI programming, equipment, facility, process, or packaging engineering, commissioning, validation, project management, tech transfer, quality assurance, FDA compliance and auditing, you'll love any of these positions. Understanding the pharmaceutical and medical device industry trends and regulatory requirements is essential. Automated Systems is hungry for people with analytical and problem-solving skills. Automated Systems also promotes work-life balance with flexible work arrangements and competitive benefits so your career can soar while you're enjoying a fulfilling personal life. Don't miss this chance to make a difference and do what you do best. Go to HireASI.com now. That's HireASI.com to explore an incredible career with Automated Systems Incorporated.
You can't live forever, but your legacy can. For over 185 years, families have trusted Catholic Cemeteries of Chicago, with 47 locations throughout Cook and Lake counties, to set their legacies in stone. A prepaid cemetery plan locks in today's prices and safeguards against rising inflation. Visit CatholicCemeteryChicago.org or call 708-236-5490 to schedule a free consultation today.
AM 560, The Answer.
All right, coming up on Chicago's Morning Answer.
At 8:08, what does the Republican victory in Louisiana mean for 2024? We'll start there with the Hayride's Scott McKay.
But right now it's 8 a.m. Listening to AM 560 WIND Chicago.
Has a front row seat to Israel's war against Hamas. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News.
Mr. President, the road to victory will be long and hard.
Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. Sitting next to him as the president attends an Israeli war cabinet meeting.
Standing strong, standing united, and I want you to know you're not alone.
Earlier at their first meeting this morning, the president said this about yesterday's hospital bombing in Gaza that left 500 Palestinian civilians dead.
And based on what I've seen, it appears as though it was done by the other team, not you.
Now, Hamas claims the U.S. is blindly biased and blames Israel, which says, no, that's not what happened. Fox's Trey Yingst reports they say
an Islamic Jihad rocket fired from the center part of the Gaza Strip was trying to target Israel, but it went up in the air and then landed in this hospital, a misfire inside Gaza, killing all of these Palestinians that were there sheltering. And Hamas officials still say they believe it was an Israeli strike, but we got more information this morning from the Israelis that intercepted a call between 2 Hamas operatives inside Gaza, and they're discussing a misfire.
Now, there are anti-American and anti-Israel protests from the West Bank to Jordan to Lebanon. Fires were set outside the U.S. Embassy in Beirut.
The State Department issuing a level 4 warning, telling Americans to get out of the country immediately, doing whatever they can to leave.
The U.S. has just announced sanctions against 10 Hamas terrorists and the group's financial network across Gaza and in Sudan, Turkey, and Qatar. In a few hours, the House will vote again for Speaker. Jim Jordan did not get enough Republican support yesterday, but Congressman Chip Roy tells Fox he'll keep back
backing, Jordan.
My message to my colleagues is we're going to change this town.
The House has been in limbo with no speaker since 8 Republicans backed by Democrats ousted Kevin McCarthy 2 weeks ago. There's another strike as thousands of auto workers keep picketing a 34th day. 3,700 employees walked off their jobs at 3 casinos in the Detroit area that will remain open. America's listening to Fox News.
48 degrees. We'll call it partly sunny this early morning. 8:02 on AM 560. The Answer. Good morning. I'm Mike Scott. A DeKalb County home destroyed following a massive explosion that sparked a fire in the 5800 block of Goebel Road in Earlville. One woman hospitalized. Family displaced following a fire in Hawthorne Woods. Lake Zurich Fire says the blaze destroyed that home in the 10 block of Robin Crest Road just after 4. Some members of the Plainfield community gathered last night to remember and honor the life of a 6-year-old Palestinian-American boy who was killed over the weekend in what prosecutors say was a hate crime.
One of our own here in Plainfield, and he's no longer with us due to this tragic murder. My heart goes out to his father, who is present with us, as an uncle, and the whole family, because no parent should ever have to experience this pain.
The mayor talking to several family members who were in attendance as well. 71-year-old Joseph Chuba, according to Assistant State's Attorney Michael Fitzgerald, was angry at the family for what was going on in Jerusalem and feared he would be attacked by people of Middle Eastern descent. That according to court records. 3 people were hurt after a vehicle crashes into a church on Chicago's south side. The driver ran a red light, sideswiped a vehicle, then hit the front of a church before coming to a stop.
As I was driving down 75th, I just looked over and I saw the car just go into the building. It tore up that church because you can see it in the inside of the church. That's how bad it hit.
Several citations were issued in that crash. Bulls fell to the Raptors 106-102. They wrap up the preseason with a home game against the Timberwolves tomorrow night. NLCS, Phillies crush Arizona 10-0, 2 home runs for Kyle Schwarber. The news, a service of Tim Stearns and Protect and Grow with Tim Stearns. Saturdays at noon, enjoy weekly discussions to a secure retirement. 8:04 time for the AM 560 Business Beat, a service of Signature Bank. Visit signaturebank.bank for all your commercial banking needs. Now, the latest from the Fox Business Network.
I'm Elizabeth McDonald, and this is the Fox Business Report.
Procter & Gamble's summer quarter was better than expected. The company makes Pampers, Gillette, Crest, Loves, and many other brands. Mortgage rates rose to an average of 7.7% for the week ending October 13th. The Mortgage Bankers Association says it's the highest level since November of 2000. Amazon is updating its warehouse operations to include artificial intelligence and robotics capabilities. The Wall Street Journal says AI will be used in Amazon's sorting machines and to operate robotic arms. Pizza Hut is about to extend late-night hours to midnight or later at thousands of U.S. locations. The company, a unit of Yum Brands, says the full menu will be available for delivery or carry-out, with some locations staying open until 2 a.m. That's your Fox Business Report. I'm Ginny Cosola, invested in you.
Hey everybody, Charlie Kirk here. Freedom Square is an unbelievable service designed to unite freedom-loving Americans. I know these guys. They love their country and they're doing an amazing job. You can log on now to create your free personalized dashboard. All of your favorite news sites, podcasters, all on one site, all at your fingertips. Sign up your business right now at freedomsquare.com and start connecting with freedom-loving Americans. Look, people want businesses they can support. You want to know the good guys from the bad guys. That's freedomsquare.com. Log on right now and create your personalized dashboard. Join us in the fight, so check it out. freedomsquare.com. Freedom lives here.
Let's welcome our new Freedom Square Business Network members. Lore TV, DS Arms Lake Barrington, Villa Park Office Equipment, and Every Black Life Matters. It's time to unite and vote with your dollars. Download the Freedom Square app and register your business right now at freedomsquare.com and start connecting with patriots. Freedom Square. Freedom lives here.
At
At Simply Safe, our award-winning home security has advanced sensors, HD cameras, and now this 24/7 LiveGuard protection. Only from Simply Safe. Monitoring agents can see and speak to intruders through our indoor camera to help stop crime in real time and for fast police response. Now get 45% off any new system with Fast Protect monitoring at simplysafe.com/radio. Advanced home security, 24/7 professional monitoring for less than $1 a day. There's no safe like Simply Safe.
Hi, I'm Martha Stewart. Every year, more than 4 million pets enter shelters here in the United States. My friends at American Humane have been helping animals since 1877. The goal is to ensure that pets have a safe shelter, especially during natural disasters. Adopting a shelter pet allows shelters to help more animals awaiting care. Please consider adopting today and take some time to learn more about American Humane's other work at americanhumane.org.
All right, Christmas will be here before we know it. If you're looking for a really special gift, I encourage you to check out the firearms made right here in America by our great friends at Henry Repeating Arms. Now, you start by going to their website, henryusa.com, order their free holiday gift guide, and they'll mail it with free decals that you can use for stocking stuffers. Perfect timing. Folks, when you give someone a Henry, you're giving them a work of art that is built with the finest craftsmanship I've ever seen as a collector. Now, their performance is top-notch. Mine were accurate, all of them, right out of the box. They shoot smooth and straight, and they have been reliable ever since. They have over 200 models of rifles and shotguns and revolvers to choose from. One of the things I like the most about these firearms, they're family heirlooms. They'll always be backed by the company's lifetime warranty. So if you want to put something that's made in America under the tree this Christmas, henryusa.com. Get their free gift guide and their decals today. That's henryusa.com. You will love this company.
8:08. Let's get an update on the roads. Team Hochberg Traffic Center time. Edens 39, Lake Cook Road into the junction. Right now, the Kennedy is at an hour and 25 from O'Hare into the Burns Circle interchange. Eisenhower inbound, it's an hour 19 from 390 into the old post office. Stevenson, it is an hour and 6 from 355 into DuSable Lakeshore Drive. You are jammed up Harlem all the way through Kedzie. Dan Ryan inbound, jammed up inbound in the locals, Skyway up to Roosevelt, in the express between the Skyway and the Stevenson, 37 minutes in 95th into the Burns Circle interchange. Jane Addams eastbound, accident right-hand shoulder. Again, this is eastbound I-90 between Randall and Route 59. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next. AM 560 Weather Center forecast with Steve Williams.
Partly sunny, breezy, terrific day. High today at 68. Partly cloudy, couple of showers early tonight, low 54. Clouds and rain tomorrow, the high 61. Partly sunny, a shower in spots on Friday, the high Friday 62. I'm Steve Williams on AM 560, The Answer.
48 at O'Hare, next news 8:30. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
This hourly segment is brought to you by HealthQuest Radio with Dr. David Kolbaba. Saturday mornings at 11. Visit healthquestradio.com.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson.
This is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560. The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. There's a Canadian MP named Pierre Poilievre who is running for PM, running to be the next prime minister to succeed that grade school drama teacher that Canadians made their PM, Trudeau.
Was he on term limits? I don't remember.
And he's been making the rounds, making his case. He had this exchange with a reporter that started making the rounds on Twitter. And it's really, it not only speaks to sort of the common sense policies, the explication of the fiscal recklessness and cultural Marxism that's attendant to the Trudeau years, but also that you need to go after these institutions that are fraudulent, that have public-facing fraudsters. that are just flax for the state. Like, for example, the Canadian Press Corps, no different than the D.C. Press Corps, no different than the Chicago Political Press Corps. So here's an exchange.
He's eating an apple, by the way.
Between the two, it is exactly the proper level of disdain and ridicule, and he does such a nice job. But because he exposes this reporter, like so many of the reporters, for the dim bulbs that they are. They have nothing. They have a narrative to spin, and they want to give the appearance of legitimacy by asking the subject they're about to smear. Well, Pierre's onto them.
On the topic, I mean, in terms of your sort of strategy currently, you're obviously taking the populist pathway.
What does that mean?
Well, appealing to people's more emotional levels, I would guess. I mean, certainly you tap very strong ideological language quite frequently.
Like what?
Left wing, this and that, right wing. I mean, it's that type of ideological thing.
I never really talk about left or right.
Anyways, a lot of people
I don't really believe in that.
Okay, a lot of people would say that you're simply taking a page out of the Donald Trump book.
Like which people would say that?
Well, I'm sure a great many Canadians, but...
Like who?
I don't know who, but...
Well, you're the one who asked the question, so you must know somebody.
Okay. I'm sure there's some out there, but anyways, the point of this question is, I mean, why should Canadians trust you with their vote, given, not just the sort of ideological inclination in terms of taking the page out of Donald Trump's book, but
what are you
also
talking about? What page? What page? Can you give me a page? Give me the page. You keep saying that.
In terms of turning things quite dramatically, in terms of Trudeau and the left wing and all of this. I mean, you make quite a it's quite a play that you make on it. So I'm
not
just
sure.
wondering.
I don't know what your question is.
Then forget that. Why should Canadians trust you with their vote?
Common sense. Okay. Common sense for a change. We're going to make common sense common in this country. We don't have any common sense in the current government. The guy prints $600 billion, grows our money supply by 32% in 3 years. That's growing the money 8 times faster than the economy. No wonder we have the worst inflation in 4 decades. I'm going to cap spending, cut waste, so that we can balance the budget and bring down inflation and interest rates. You'll want to be able to pay your mortgage again? You want to be able to afford rent? Then you have to vote for Pierre Poilievre, because I'm the only one with a common sense plan that will bring back the buying power of your paycheck.
No, the last piece of it was nothing particularly groundbreaking, but the whole point is that he spent the first 90 seconds just pillaring the reporter who was making statements that were supposed to go unchallenged before he got to the pedestrian question of why should Canadians vote for you?
Right. I mean, that reporter couldn't even look him in the eye when he was asking him questions.
Well, because he doesn't expect to be challenged. I mean, it's a real tutorial on how you have to deal with these people. And by the way, now that generates a lot of interest, too, because repeating those last lines about common sense and cap on spending and fiscal sanity and so forth, those don't have a lot of currency because, as we were just talking with Steve Moore, there's a lot on the center right, even the more conservative right, that really haven't lived up to that rhetoric, and so people are understandably jaded. But showing the willingness to go after the Praetorian Guard is what people want to see, so they believe maybe this guy or gal is really willing to put in the fight that's required. It's a nice example. Scott McKay is the publisher of The Hayride, contributing editor at The American Spectator, and author of The Revivalist Manifesto. He joins us now. Scott, thanks for being with us. Appreciate it.
Hey, thanks for having me, Dan.
Maybe we can see something. Maybe we can see something in Canada that we've seen recently in New Zealand and Ecuador, and even in Louisiana.
Well, yeah, we just had an election. So the primary elections in our statewide election cycle happened on Saturday, and they were a massive blowout for the right. But on the, and I'm sure we'll talk about that some, but on the Poilievre interview, you gotta find it on Twitter and watch the video portion of it, because the best part of it is he's munching on an apple while he's listening to these questions.
Yeah, right.
And I mean, you mentioned the word disdain, and it's perfectly descriptive, because he's just busy eating that apple and looking at the guy like, why is this guy harassing me with his garbage? I come from, when I first got started in journalism, I was the publisher of a sports publication that covered LSU. And, not long after we got started, Nick Saban got hired as the coach. And every press conference that Saban gave was the Pierre Poilievre interview.
Yeah. We're familiar with that in Chicago with the Mike Ditka years. Yeah.
Coach.
Yeah, and honestly, I don't. It's weird, because Republicans tend to be bigger sports fans than Democrats, and I do not understand why Republican politicians don't adopt the football coach press conference approach to doing these interviews. I mean, they're solicitous to legacy corporate media idiots who insult them with questions, and they just take it, and it drives Republican voters nuts. When what really is called for is exactly what you see in this interview, where it's like, I don't accept the premise of your question.
Exactly.
Ask me another question, because this one stinks and I'm not even going to bother. I mean, Joe Biden does that to friendly reporters.
Right.
And Joe Biden is barely sentient at all, and he's able to do it. And yet every Republican politician I see is like eager and earnest in their, acceptance of insulting and false narratives that precede questions that they're asked. And it's so refreshing to see somebody who is just not having it and is willing to look like a jerk maybe, but so what? Because they don't care what the reporters say, and they know they're going to get written up in a bad way anyway.
All right, let's talk about Louisiana, Jeff Landry. And did you think he was made it on top because of his support from President Trump?
I think that probably didn't hurt, but the big issue is that Landry ran more or less a flawless campaign. He did all of the retail politics things that needed to be done. He built local alliances throughout the state. He headed off all of the other Republican, because this was a jungle primary. He headed off all the Republican candidates at the pass. Got in the race early, locked up all the key endorsements, the whole bit. The big reason why he was able to win 52% in the primary is that Democrats in Louisiana have utterly and completely collapsed. That party is not even viable anymore.
That's amazing when you're talking about them enjoying an incumbent governor at present. But I saw that we talked about it a bit yesterday. Down 330,000 votes on the Democrat side from 4 years earlier.
Oof.
Yeah, well, and a lot of that. I don't know if the people that left are all Democrats, but he's run off on net about 250,000 people from the state during the 8 years he was there, and everybody knows that Louisiana is in a state of virtual collapse from the standpoint of a private sector economy and all of these other things. Everybody knows it, and everybody was ready for something else. And Landry had established himself as the most credible conservative candidate because he's been the attorney general.
Right.
And they're involved in every one of these multi-state lawsuits, whether it's, Missouri v. Biden. Remember that thing is in the Western District of Louisiana at the trial level. And, it's there because Jeff Landry's office was the one that put it there.
The social media censorship case.
Correct. Which is, probably the biggest lawsuit in America in the last, 10 years or so. So they've done all of these things that really established, some pretty serious bona fides as a conservative. And then having done that, Landry's campaign is all about crime. It's all about the fact that he's got some experience as an economic development officer, and it's about, traditional values. Things that even Democrats can't really argue with. And it was like a no drama campaign, and it was set up as, look, I'm the most qualified guy. I'm the best guy to do this. He barely even attended any debates. He didn't take questions from reporters that would be, insulting or damaging or whatever. I mean, the papers in the state have been after this guy for a long time, and he basically just ignored them because they don't have the reach that they used to. And he didn't engage them in ways that would put him in a position to play defense. And he built and built and built and built his support, all the way up to Election Day.
So is there, I mean, we have a governor's race in Kentucky, too, and there's a lot of blue dog Democrats in Kentucky, like in Louisiana, and that's a competitive race in a state that goes red routinely for presidential elections, but not necessarily at the state level. Daniel Cameron's an attractive candidate, also an attorney general. So I wonder if, let's say Daniel Cameron wins, and you see similar depressed turnout among Democrats and enthusiasm among Republicans, particularly with certain demographics where the depression is real, and so is the enthusiasm on the other side. Is there anything that we should extrapolate from, let's start with Louisiana, for next year?
Well, I wish I could say yes. I don't know if national Republicans are capable of running the kind of campaign that Landry ran. Very much a retail campaign in that, he did all of his work sort of under the surface, building alliances, making sure he had the right people there to get the vote out, and all of those kinds of things, and setting himself up as, sort of the brand X candidate, like he was the guy that was going to win the race. And, national Republicans are so bad at creating that persona that, it always seems like our people are desperate. And Jeff kind of broke through that largely because he's run a whole bunch of campaigns and he's won like all but one of them. I mean, it's like he just has the aura of a winner as he runs. And we we don't do a very good job of that. And I mean, I just don't know if we're talking about congressional and senatorial elections. You have to find candidates who can exude that.
Well, let's talk about urban centers in blue states or even swing states, and because they're the urban centers and their footprint, the suburban areas of urban centers are critically important in places like Georgia, North Carolina, Wisconsin, and so forth. So New Orleans has the highest murder per capita rate in the country, and I wonder what the turnout and the split was like there, if that's any indication of urban denizens, including minorities, maybe not going over to the Republican Party, but not being able to bring themselves to support the Democrats anymore, right?
Well, okay, and there I can give you some numbers. So statewide, on Saturday, the turnout was 35.8%, and in Orleans Parish, which is New Orleans, it was only 27%. Okay, and the Democrat who got 26% statewide got 75% in Orleans. But they just didn't show up, and it's like you said, New Orleans is a shooting gallery, and it's a city in an abject state of collapse, and everybody knows it, and so the place is run all by Democrats. The state has been run by Democrats, and the results are awful. And so their voters don't really believe anymore. And I think, because it's all machine politics, the machine does break down over time when there's no performance. Like in your city, the Daley machine generally accomplished decent social services in Chicago for like a long time, right? And that's why people have tolerated a lot of what the Daley machine did. But when things start breaking down, you can't get people engaged anymore. And that's when, change happens. So I think that's what's happened in New Orleans. And New Orleans is dominated by like out-of-state money that flows through these Soros nonprofits. That is what controls the politics in New Orleans, just like a lot of other cities are that way. but the problem is that when nothing works, it's hard to keep ginning people up to go vote. And they've run into that there. And I mean, I don't know that Louisiana's an outlier. It would make a lot of sense to start to see some of these urban Democrat machines that are driven by, Arabella advisors, placed money, to start kind of, those machines stop turning out the vote that they've been. I don't know that you could count on that as a Republican, but it's something worth watching because it was in evidence on Saturday in New Orleans.
Scott McKay is the publisher of The Hayride, contributing editor at the American Spectator, and author of the book The Revivalist Manifesto. Scott, thanks as always. Appreciate it.
See y'all. Take care.
Thank you. And he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
Connect with Dan and Amy on the AM 560 The Answer mobile app. Just text the word app to 64636 to download the app today.
You've heard me talk about my love of coffee over and over again. I'm here to tell you I have discovered one of the best brews I've ever tasted and a company that I cannot wait to support. I'm here to tell you about Bone Frog Coffee. The Bone Frog is a sacred symbol in the SEAL teams. It honors those that gave the ultimate sacrifice, their lives. Bone Frog was founded by Tim Crook Shank, a former Navy SEAL and 25-year Navy veteran. Bone Frog honors the fallen, those who gave everything for our freedoms and our American way of life, by giving 10% of all the proceeds to benefit many of the U.S. Navy SEAL foundations. Here's what I need you to do. Go to bonefrogcoffee.com/liberty. Get 10% off your first order. You will also get 15% off Bone Frog Coffee subscriptions. Just enter Liberty at checkout. Go to bonefrogcoffee.com/liberty. That's bonefrogcoffee.com/liberty. Taste one of the best brews you ever tasted. 10% of the proceeds go to benefit the Navy SEALs. You'll feel good. It's an American company. Go to bonefrogcoffee.com/liberty.
Bettenhausen Mobility is the fastest growing authorized Braun Ability dealer serving the Chicagoland area. Bettenhausen offers a complete lineup of wheelchair accessible vehicles with the options to fit all your mobility needs. As a Braun Ability dealer, Bettenhausen Mobility can provide sales and service to all accessible vehicles and mobility solutions on several makes and models. Whether you need side entry with manual or power operation or different ramp options, Bettenhausen Mobility has a solution for you. Showroom open at BettenhausenMobility.com.
At Forever Remodeling, we bring your kitchen dreams to life. Our expert team specializes in creating kitchens that blend precise craftsmanship with your unique style. From concept to completion, we'll work closely with you to ensure every detail is perfect. Don't wait to transform your kitchen into a stunning masterpiece. Visit foreverremodeling.com today to explore our portfolio and claim your free consultation, or call us at 847-809-3355. Your new kitchen is just a call away.
Guys, a lot of people talking about testosterone, but do your homework and go to a provider you can trust, like my friends at Low T Center, where I've been getting my levels checked the past 8 years. At Low T Center, they make it easy. You walk in, take a simple blood test, and with their on-site lab, you get your results back in about 25 minutes. If you've been feeling tired, grumpy, notice weight gain and loss of muscle mass, these could all be signs of low testosterone levels. Low T Center is not your typical doctor's office where you have a long wait. It's concierge medicine exclusively for men. They have affordable and convenient options for treatment, including physician-monitored self-inject treatments that ship directly to you each month, so there's no need to drive to the center for weekly visits. And right now, Low T Center is only $25 to get your T-level tested, with results back in about 25 minutes. So what are you waiting for? Log on now to lowtcenter.com to book your appointment online. That's lowtcenter.com. Tell them Dan Prof sent you when you do. Low T Center, reinventing men's healthcare.
Ashley Banfield and Chris Cuomo on America's fastest growing cable news network, News Nation.
The viewer seems to have been lost in the shuffle of cable news lately. They don't want a team sport. They want the full picture.
The appetite is greater than it has ever been for perspective, for understanding, and for information that they can not just trust, but use.
See why more people are turning to News Nation, news for all America. To find News Nation on your screen, go to joinnn.com. AM 560, The Answer.
All right, coming up on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Those migrant slumber parties at police stations, not limited to Chicago, moving out to the suburbs, 838.
And there's a party in the USA, we'll explain. But now let's head into the newsroom. Here's Mike Scott.
8:31 on AM 560, The Answer. We have partly sunny skies. 48 degrees. And President Biden at this hour in Israel saying it appears the deadly explosion at a hospital in Gaza was not the work of Israeli forces.
I'm deeply saddened and outraged by the explosion at the hospital in Gaza yesterday. And based on what I've seen, it appears as though it was done by the other team, not you.
Biden making the comment shortly after arriving in Israel today, speaking with Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. German Chancellor Olaf Scholz is condemning a twin firebomb assault on a synagogue in Berlin. The number of anti-Semitic incidents in the German capital has been rising following the escalation in the Middle East. There were riots overnight between Muslim immigrants and police in other neighborhoods in Germany in which several officers were injured. There's also a word of protest this morning at the U.S. Embassy in Beirut. The U.S. providing Ukraine with long-range missiles. The Biden administration has apparently quietly been providing the missiles to Ukraine, providing them with the caveat that they will not be used on mainland Russia, only Russian-held territory in Ukraine. The next vote for Speaker of the House will be later this morning after Ohio Congressman Jim Jordan failed to get a majority and failed to get the vote of Republican Florida Congressman Carlos Jimenez.
I'm going to do what I think is right, and I'll live with the consequences of that. So far, it's worked out for me. Maybe this one doesn't work out for me, but I still think that's the right thing to do, and I'm sticking to my principles. I know who I'm voting for, and it's Kevin McCarthy.
Jordan says he has no plans of dropping out of the speaker battle despite earning 200 of the 217 votes needed on the House floor. A DeKalb County home is destroyed following a massive explosion that sparked a fire. The home exploded yesterday in Earlville, one woman hospitalized with non-life-threatening injuries. Members of the Plainfield community gathered last night to remember and honor the life of a 6-year-old Palestinian-American boy killed over the weekend in what prosecutors say was a hate crime. 71-year-old Joseph Chuba was allegedly angry at the family for what was going on in Jerusalem and feared he would be attacked by people of Middle Eastern descent, according to court records filed by Assistant State's Attorney Michael Fitzgerald. A delegation of local leaders from Chicago making a trip to the southern border, and their first stop today is in El Paso. The El Paso border sector is seeing a drop in migrant encounters, and shelters also seeing a drop as busing continues to take illegal migrants from El Paso to elsewhere in the country. United Airlines said that it earned $1.14 billion in the vacation-heavy third quarter, but the airline forecast weaker profits for the rest of the year today. Bulls fell to the Raptors in the NBA preseason, 106-102. They host the Timberwolves tomorrow night. Blackhawks out west, they'll take on the Colorado Avalanche tomorrow night. 8:34 and a check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
You've heard Remke's Garage commercials on AM 560, and now they specialize in servicing Sprinters and light-duty diesels. But the experts at Remke's also service Isuzu and Chevy low-cab forward trucks. So if you own an Isuzu or Chevy low-cab forward truck but aren't sure where to get it repaired, take it to Remke's Garage, your #1 dealer alternative for repairs to your Isuzu NPR, Isuzu F-Series, or Chevy low-cab forward truck. Whether gas or diesel, your truck is the lifeline of your business. That's why Remke's Garage offers free loaners while your truck is being serviced. They'll even pick up and deliver for your convenience. Remke's Garage has the factory scan tool to properly diagnose Isuzu and Chevy low-cab forward trucks. Their commitment to your business is backed with a complimentary maintenance plan and free 2-year warranty. Go to Remke'sGarage.com to learn more about their specialization in Isuzu and Chevy low-cab forward trucks and schedule your appointment today. That's Remke's, REMKES, Garage.com.
Many novice gold and silver buyers make fatal mistakes when buying precious metals for the first time. Mistakes made because of dealer gimmicks and scams. Dennis Prager here for Amfed Coin and Bullion. My choice, and it really is, for buying precious metals. Numerous precious metal dealers are capitalizing on the demand for gold by selling inexperienced investors collectible coins with outrageous markups. One company charges as much as $18,000 for collectible coins that are only worth about $5,500 in the open market. It's an example of the honesty of AmFed. Other dealers tell falsehoods about government gold confiscation or regulation of gold prices at AmFed Coin and Bullion to keep things simple and transparent so you'll understand what you own and its true value. If you're thinking of buying or have already purchased and want a second opinion, call Nick Grovich, the man I trust, and his team at AmFed Coin and Bullion, 800-221-7694. Receive a complimentary coin performance review, AmericanFederal.com, AmericanFederal.com.
Would you go to court without a lawyer when the other guy is lawyered up? Or are you going to go it alone and learn law and procedure as you go? When you have an insurance claim for your home or business, it's the same thing.
This is Dan Lights from Crosscom. We inspect your property, file your claim, negotiate the damages, and maximize your settlement with your insurance company.
Insurance companies will send out their inspectors that work for them, get paid by them, and represent them. Not you.
If we complete the repairs approved by your insurance company, our service is free. Crosscom Public Adjusters has turned denied claims into approved claims. We've also increased insurance claims anywhere from 23 to 1,000%, and we could do the same for you. We are licensed by the Department of Insurance and work in Illinois, Northwest Indiana, and Southern Wisconsin. Crosscom Public Adjusters, 630-871-5500. Online at crosscominc.com. That's crosscominc.com. Crosscom. Building trust for over 20 years.
8:37, let's get an update on the roads. Team Hochberg Traffic Center time, a service of Staples stores. Get $100 off your print purchase or of $250 or more. Offer ends 11/4. See staples.com/print for details and make your small business print and marketing materials stand out with perfect prints guaranteed at Staples. 37 on the Edens inbound Lake Cook Road to the junction. The Kennedy right now approaching 90 minutes. O'Hare into the Burns Circle interchange. The Ike on the inbound side, an hour 13, 390 into the old post office. Stevenson, black numbers, not good. Harlem to Cicero, and 67 minutes in, 355 into DuSable Lakeshore Drive. Checking the toll roads this morning. Tri-State right now stop and slow, 83rd up to 31st. Jane Addams accident right shoulder eastbound Randall between Randall and Route 59. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next. A pleasant start to the day. We'll have partial sunshine through the morning, breezy to the afternoon, high 68. Clouds develop and showers overnight, low 54. It's 49 right now. Next news at 9. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. After the pictures have been circulating about the situation in Chicago police stations with migrants using them as sleeping quarters, a lot of people ask, well, where's the fire department? What happens to the regs that are enforced against other institutions? And so actually Chicago City Wire looked into that. Chicago Fire Department's Larry Merritt said the fire department does not have jurisdiction over police facilities. It's not under our purview. He said the police station isn't a venue like a restaurant or a concert venue where there's an occupancy number. We've had this question posed to us from different reporters. It's not under our purview. Those buildings are, for lack of a better description, just not rated for that, so it's not our deal, essentially, is what he's saying. But it doesn't. So that's fine, and it's understandable that they would be treated differently. But it doesn't make the working conditions in Chicago police departments any better. It doesn't make the lack of planning for this sanctuary paradise that our political ruling class has foisted upon the city and the state. Although with the city and state's backing at the ballot box, I must hasten to add, doesn't make it any more helpful to police trying to do their jobs, though, does it?
No, it does not. 312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line. 64636, type in DA, then a quick comment. Did you hear about, they're just here to party? Did you hear about this story? The 2 Venezuelans who were caught shoplifting at Walmart. Guess what they stole? Well, they had like 15 additional items that were, toiletries and things like this. They stuffed a karaoke machine in a bag and thought they could just do that and walk out. And it was a $130 machine. It happened at Walmart on 109th and Dottie. But these are 2 Venezuelan migrants who are living in the 4th District Police Station. So they were able to get them. But they also had about $3,000 worth of weed on them as well.
Well, there's Facebook groups popping up to try to provide the bread and circuses for our friends from other countries, and most of whom are in this country illegally. But again, that's on the political ruling class. In Oak Park, this is interesting. Elisa Byler Desai, River Forest in Oak Park virtual garage sale. She posts, there are now close to 200 people at the police station waiting for shelter placement. Most are living outside in tents. But police station in Oak Park. Oh, that's interesting. Another, welcoming city. There's a strong desire to work and be productive, so we're looking for things to keep our new neighbors busy and provide some fun. New neighbors? Why not new house guests? A basketball hoop is being requested. Anyone have one to donate? Have any other fun outdoor games you don't want? Private message me. If you want to help with the many other donations we need to keep our new neighbors warm, please private message me. Oh, the 60s refugees in Oak Park stepping up. Here, have some of my hand-me-down Birkenstocks. Big drum circle at the parks there in Oak Park. I know we're just waiting for the sheltering at parks and River Forest as Oak Park, as we've talked about previously. I mean, you're over there in Galewood at Edmondson Park. Why not move into Oak Park and River Forest? Right. These are welcoming communities. Look, they're trying to find basketball hoops and board games for the people that are awaiting shelter placement outside in tents at outside the Oak Park Police Station. But I say again, outside in tents, worried about the cold weather. Where is the Gandhi-like being of the change they wish to see, I wonder? 312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line. 64636DA, turnkey.pro text line. Suburbs stepping up. Now, by the way, I do understand, I don't have this confirmed, but I've got it from a pretty good source.
Yeah.
Joliet Township, one of those other welcoming communities, at least if the township supervisor there had his way. They've got the $8.5 million payment from Pritzker to bring migrants into Joliet Township. No migrant no migrants cash grant for migrants is happening, I'm told. The person who messaged me, it's amazing what happens when you can hit a politician in the wallet. The mayor there of Joliet, Darcy, is getting some credit for this. He's also, interestingly, I guess, taking some heat for it from, obviously, the element in the Joliet Township, in Joliet and Joliet Township, as represented by that township supervisor who moved to do this and then lied about it at a public forum. He's getting some heat, and I guess he owns car dealerships, or his family has been in the car business for a while, and so he's getting some of the typical sort of boycott pressure from groups that say you should behave like BLM Brandon does and J.B. Pritzker does, and he doesn't want to do that for Joliet. So that's an interesting dynamic in Joliet. So it's starting to get out into the suburbs a bit, and I just hope there's the appropriate competition to see who is more morally righteous among the left. Maybe, the first one that opens their doors, you're going to have the rest of the lemmings follow. So we just need one or two in a place like Oak Park and River Forest, and then the social pressure, the their status being jeopardized as a mindless leftist in good standing, I think will lead others to open their doors. What do you think?
think it's time they do it, yeah.
Nick on the Northwest side.
Yeah, thank you. Good morning to you and everybody else. About 30, maybe 40 years ago, I don't know, it was a long time ago, but do we remember when 15 million people, mostly of Mexican background, were picked to be amnestied? It was half of an estimated 30 million. And as long as they had like jobs and they didn't have a criminal record, and that was over a longer period of time that these estimated 30 million came in. But the thing is, we didn't have all this stuff going on like now, parks with tents and people who are native, people who are here who deserve some treatment and care, not getting it because the funds and energies are diverted to these people coming in now. So I'm just trying to figure out what in the world went wrong with this thing. It sounds like a typical liberal Democrat Party, mess that they got into, like so much else that they do. So that's what I want to say.
Thanks, Nick.
Got a text message. Dan and Amy, all the River Forest liberals should be inviting all the illegals into their homes, into their mansions as house guests.
Starting with Lisa Baylor to say, I mean, what's with this get them a basketball hoop? Have them come over to your place and play ball. Stay there,
Pitch tents in your front yards because it looks like park districts anyway.
George in Naperville.
Yeah, with all these migrants sleeping at police stations, I'm wondering if the police had to break up any pillow fights or panty raids.
Yeah, a lot of the old itching powder gags being played at the police stations. Chuck and Delavan.
I just picked it up last week at a garage sale. I couldn't believe it. They're like 30 years old. They're the jarts, lawn jarts.
Are those street legal?
Well, they were outlawed years ago, but
yeah,
anyway, but that's what I got. I can get them down there.
All right. So, private message, Lisa Desay in Oak Park. Tell her lawn darts are on the way. Thanks for the call, Chuck.
Yeah. I got another really fun Venezuelan immigrant story for you. Well,
okay.
This one guy, I don't know if you remember, but on September 27th, this 24-year-old Venezuelan was caught and arrested because he had a gun on him and he was in the Loop area. And a judge the next day, Judge Casas, released him and said, he'll show up, come back in a few days for your court appearance. Well, guess what, Dan? He didn't show up. But unfortunately for this guy, the gunman, he lives in the lobby of the 18th District. And he came home a few days ago and they arrested him right there because they recognized him. So, yeah, not so smart.
We were talking about this with Poilievre, the PM candidate in Canada, Pierre Poilievre, a member of parliament there, and Scott McKay at the top of the hour about the posture towards media when it comes to every issue under the sun, including this one. And so just to get a sense of the sort of interference the D.C. press corps is trying to run for the open borders crowd, the party to which they serve. Ron DeSantis was on Face the Nation with Margaret Brennan. And as we were talking about with McKay, I mean, I just don't understand. DeSantis is too good and too sharp to be as passive as he was on this issue. On this issue of border security, because there was a couple of issues. But, I mean, DeSantis, there's a lot of things happening, so he's not getting the credit for his executive order that sent flights to Israel to pick up 300 Americans, bring them back. He's sending supplies over there. This is all of his own initiative as the governor of Florida. And, I mean, this is why he was so attractive coming into this race, because he's a doer and he's sharp and he is principled. But for some reason, he has shrunk on the national stage when it comes to being a presidential candidate. He's as good as he is as bad as his campaign has been, as far as I'm concerned. But anyway, DeSantis has made pronouncements about using the military to go into Mexico to take out agents of the cartels. He also talked about the sort of security that's required at the border in order to dissuade all of those attempting to come here illegally. And listen to the exchange between him and Margaret Brennan and her characterization of his view.
You in the past have said you would authorize the U.S. military to go to the U.S. border and shoot cartel members. You told my colleague Nora O'Donnell, quote, when somebody's got a backpack on and they're breaking through the wall, you know that's hostile intent and you have every right to take action under those circumstances. Can you explain how that would work? Would a soldier have to ask his commanding officer for permission before he shoots anyone wearing a backpack, or is this just a blanket shoot anyone with a backpack?
Well, first, cartels are invading this country, and they are killing tens of thousands of our fellow citizens with fentanyl, and this is happening in communities all across our country. We have every right and duty to fight back against that. It's typical how you would have with law enforcement or military. You define rules of engagement. They positively identify somebody that's hostile, either action or intent, and they engage.
And the follow-up.
How would you differentiate who's a threat? How would you say shoot people wearing backpacks?
Well, Margaret, when you're down at the border, I mean, you see, like, the cartels will actually have lookouts where they'll just bring people across. They will have, yes, they will be carrying
how do you know what's in the backpack?
Different types of... Well, you have to make those judgments based on intelligence and all the other things that you do. But I can tell you this, once you show the willingness to actually take this threat seriously, you are going to change their behavior. They're eating our lunch at the border right now because we don't do anything to fight back. That's going to change on January 20th, 2025.
I think Ron DeSantis doesn't know he's running in a Republican primary.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, on the substance, there's not much issue, and whether you agree with using the military to go on the other side of the... I mean, we can have that discussion, but when a reporter says to you that your position is to shoot anybody with a backpack, and you then respond, as giving her the benefit of the doubt that she's trying to convey a representation of your position that she's just either confused about or she's shorthanding, that should have been a stop. Wait a second. Wait a second.
Yep.
I mean, who do you think you are? You are such a disingenuous hack to suggest that, yeah, I'm for, see the whites of their eyes and they have a backpack, then open fire and just slaughter people coming towards the border. Of course that's not Ron DeSantis' position. No. And to entertain that like she is a substantive person asking a legitimate question is to make a terrible political mistake and rhetorical mistake. You cannot tolerate people talking to you like that. If you're a governor, if you're a candidate, if you're a representative of a party, if you're anybody. You cannot start from such an absurd, offensive, illegitimate premise as the one Margaret Brennan started with DeSantis and not address the premise. And pull out your apple and start chomping on it like Poilievre did. Sarah in Northwest Side.
Hi.
Hi, Sarah. Go ahead.
Hi, Sarah.
Oh, thank you. Yes. So I'm calling in because I work for an organization. I just started working for an organization in Chicago, granted money from the IDHS, and I thought, okay, we're going to be helping women and children coming over. And in a very short time, I realized it's a money-making thing for so many people. I mean, I have been processing, and it's scary. A lot of Venezuelans coming in have felonies, and they're allowing them in this country, and now they're pushing for this TPS and temporary protective status. And they can process their papers with these felonies. They're being put up in what used to be five-star hotels in Chicago. They have 120,000 men in one particular hotel. There's several downtown. But I said, how in the world can this possibly be a good thing? Majority of these men, all men in that particular hotel that I had to go to, have some sort of background from the country they came from, mostly right now Venezuela, because they're being granted this. And it's blowing my mind what I'm seeing the government allowing, the local governments, the government in general. Of course, it all starts with Biden. But I also wanted to make a comment about the police stations. So I know for a fact certain precincts, because I've spoken to the police officers, they, of course, are not happy whatsoever with what's going on. They're doing illegal even activities right in front of the police officers, no care in the world. And then they're getting these cards for $2,000, and what's happening is there's no communication, so they will leave a police district, go to another one, get another card, because there's just no communication. Yeah.
Incredible. Unsurprising, but incredible. Thanks for the call, Sarah. Appreciate that. Dan and Amy, Chicago's Morning Answer.
The big stories of the day, then talk about them right here on Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
Balance of Nature's fruits and vegetables in a capsule, changing the world one life at a time.
I'm Carolyn. I have been in private practice of physician's physical therapy for 35 years.
And you're going to come in, but breathe. Yep, perfect.
I open up at 4 a.m. and I'll go on till 10 a.m. and it's day after day. And as you can see by the equipment here, we are intensely active. People watch, they observe, and people say, Carolyn, what's your secret? And I say it's from proper diet, proper exercise, and of course, through Balance of Nature. I'm 60, but since taking Balance of Nature, I feel the energy level of 27. I've been taking Balance of Nature for several years, and I love it. I endorse it, I believe in it, and I would recommend it.
Start your journey to better health with Balance of Nature. Go to balanceofnature.com to get 35% off your first preferred order and get this special offer by using discount code CHICAGO.
All right, in between storms, that is the best time to call our good friends over at Permaseal. Roy Spencer started the business 41 years ago, still family owned and operated. They stand behind their work. And you could call them for a free estimate. Cracks in your foundation, if you want a dehumidification air purifier system, if you want to stop the water in your basement every time it rains. Some pumps, backup some pumps, they have it all at Permaseal. Call them for a free estimate, 800-421-SEAL, 800-421-SEAL, or simply go online to permaseal.net.
AM 560, The Answer.
What is one Dan Proft doing today?
Doing a interview with Shelby Steele for a forthcoming episode of my Counterculture podcast, which is available on all the podcasting platforms, Counterculture. Also the American Greatness, amgreatness.com YouTube channel. So, yeah, Shelby Steele, look forward to that. We're going to have a wide-ranging discussion with one of the most important thinkers about race and culture of the last half century, so it should be good.
Great. All right. Well, thanks so much, everyone, for joining us. Thanks to George Hoffman, who's been in for Justin Kosick, and Quinn McCarthy. We're back here bright and early tomorrow morning at 5 a.m. Now into the newsroom we go. Here is Mike Scott.
A vigil held for a 6-year-old boy killed in a Plainfield attack. City approves demolition permits for parts of the Thompson Center. Bulls fall to the Raptors in the NBA preseason, and a pleasant midday ahead. WIND Chicago News Time, 9 o'clock.
President Biden continues to meet with Israelis. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News.
The United States stands with you.
He met with the war cabinet there, and he told the prime minister it appears yesterday's hospital bombing in Gaza that killed hundreds of Palestinian civilians sheltering there was done by what he said was the other team.
But there's a lot of people out there not sure. So we got to overcome a lot of things.
And that includes anti-American, anti-Israeli protests raging in the West Bank, in Jordan, and in Lebanon, where fires were set outside the U.S. Embassy in Beirut.
The security forces using
some tear gas on them to prevent some of the attacks that we saw there. And as tensions only continue to escalate, the State Department has now approved the departure of some non-emergency U.S. personnel and their families from the area. The U.S. has also issued a level 4 do not travel advisory.
Fox's Alex Hogan. We're also learning the U.S. intercepted 2 attack drones fired at an air base in Iraq housing American troops. Now, President Biden also just met with Israeli first responders who treated victims of Hamas's terror attack that started this war. He was asked, why does he believe Israel didn't